Hi, thanks for joining us for this episode of Doug Has Questions. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe. We're available if you want to watch us on YouTube, or if you just want to listen to the podcast version on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And each episode goes live on Thursday morning. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and we're happy to have you listening. Welcome to this edition of Doug Has Questions. Today my guest is somebody that I've been getting numerous requests for. Everybody else knows her as Charlotte Olerud, but I know her as Mom.
Thank you, Douglas.
Thanks for joining us, Mom. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I know you're hesitant a little bit at the beginning, but
I just thought, what the heck?
What the heck?
What the heck?
Good. Well, I hope I don't make it too tough for you.
Yep, I hope so too.
Actually, we got to wait. We got to pause for just a second. I forgot to grab something. We'll just.
Oh, I've got my cleaners. Yeah. Thank you.
There's a high likelihood that one or both of us might
We'll
need
have
those
tears.
during the time of this. Better be prepared.
Be prepared ahead of time.
Man, you're starting right at the introduction. This could be
This could be bad.
this could be rough, Mom.
Mm,
All right.
okay.
So you've been in Haines for a long time, but let's start Barrett, Minnesota, growing up.
Well, actually, I spent the first 3 years of my life in Fort St. John, British Columbia. My dad was master mechanic, and he was rejected from the Army, but he wanted to participate, and so he came up to work on the Alcan Highway.
So you were born in Minnesota, then went
Yep.
right away
I think I was just a couple months old. Yeah.
when they moved up to
Yep. Fort St. John. Yep. Mother and dad said it was the best years of their life.
Yeah.
They had a wonderful time. We lived in, excuse me. Apparently we lived in a tar paper shack. Dad would have to kick his boots free in the wintertime because it'd freeze to the floor. But he would go hunting. He had a native guide from Trutch named Sam Pierre, and they'd go by horseback. And Mother would pack
Sheep hunting or moose
sheep
or
and caribou.
Sheep and caribou.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And Mother would pack his food in glass jars, and then he'd come back with the jars filled with blueberries.
Well, that's a good trade. But it's just crazy to me thinking going out on horseback with glass jars.
I know. Yeah. Well, they didn't have
They didn't
Ziploc
have
bags.
Ziploc bags. No, it was probably better because you don't have the microplastics
Yep.
and everything. But
Yep.
still, I would think I'd have a very high tendency of breaking glass jars on horseback.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how well they must have packed it well with clothes around it or
Yeah.
whatever. She didn't divulge those secrets to me.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of being there?
I don't really have any memories, but Mother and Dad made some really good friends. And of course, I hear stories. I heard a lot of stories from them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the stories that always kind of tickled me was this one guy that worked in the shop. And he had this big hairy chest, and he always had his shirt open, and was kind of a bully. And so one time he was being nasty to this guy, and the guy had had enough. And so he reached behind him into a barrel of metal shavings and just rubbed it into his chest. And that kind of calmed that guy down for a while. Yeah.
Didn't have any issues with him. Right?
Didn't have any issues with him anymore.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be a bully, watch out what the other guy has
Right,
handy.
keep your shirt buttoned up.
You're right.
Do I remember? I think you guys have told me this story that in the sports shop, Dad always had under the glass counter, he had a bunch of pictures. And
Yep.
there's a picture of Grandpa with his guide, Sam.
Yep.
And that a guy came in, he's like, was that his grandfather or his uncle?
His
or?
uncle.
So
Yeah.
his uncle,
Yep.
he's like, that's my uncle.
That's my uncle. And I said, and that's my dad.
That's my dad.
But he said, Saint Pierre, if he said there was an animal around the corner, there was an animal around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He said he was an excellent guide.
One
Yeah.
of the old school guys
Yep.
that knew where
Yep.
everything
Knew
was.
where it was. Yep. And we
Did
we
Grandpa have any remembers? I mean, did he ever tell you, did he get sheep? Was it caribou?
Oh, we came home
You
with,
came home-
with a sheep head, and it
Okay.
always sat out in the garage.
Grandma wouldn't let it in the house?
No. And as I remembered, it wasn't that great a one, but I mean, I don't know. I was so young that who cares? You know?
Yeah. Just kind of dead sheep in your garage.
Yeah, dead sheep in my garage. And I don't know if it was when we came to Fort St. John or when we left, but there was no Peace River Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mother told about the soldiers as we were in the boat pushing the ice floes away
Really?
as we crossed. Yeah. My bed was a dresser drawer.
Just set you in the dresser drawer and.
Yep. Yep.
Well, you're small enough.
I was little.
Yeah.
I was just a couple of months old. So yeah, why
Saves
not?
money on a crib and space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And I had an older sister. She was 3 years older than me, so she was 3 when we moved. My
Mhm.
younger sister was born there before we left in 45.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So then, when did the job finish, or did you not like it, or you were too young to remember why?
I have no idea why.
That-
War was over.
Yeah.
I mean,
After
I don't
3
know.
years, you moved back to Minnesota. Then.
Back to Barrett, Minnesota, and we lived there for the rest of my life until I moved up here.
Well, I was gonna say not the rest of your life.
Well,
'cause
no,
you've
not quite. Yeah.
You've been up here for quite a while.
But
So
we-
Barrett's small town,
small town.
western Minnesota,
Yep.
right
And-
at Barrett Lake.
Yep.
Alexander, Fergus Fall area.
Yep. Yep. And Dad was still working construction, being a mechanic. And then in 49, when he was just 39 years old,
Mhm.
he was working on the Minneapolis airport. They were building a new runway.
So when he got back to Barrett,
Mhm.
was he going for jobs like that, like in Minneapolis? Because didn't he work for the county for a while?
Well, that was later.
That was later.
that
So
was later.
when he first moved back, there was times that
Oh,
because
we
from
tra-
Minneapolis to Barrett, he would go in for work for however long and then come back on weekends, kind of thing. Or
I think so. And we had, I know one summer we were at Cloquet on a road project,
okay,
you know, and so I think we moved kind of around in the
Mhm.
summertime when there was the jobs. But yeah, he was working one day and working on the fan of a Caterpillar. And a guy came and didn't know that he was working on it and started it up. And it just pulled him right in and tore his arm off at the shoulder. And everybody was standing around just going, oh, what do we do? And he had to pull himself out.
Pull himself out.
And the doctor said if he didn't go into shock, he would live. And he didn't go into shock.
Do you? So you're 7 years old.
Yep.
Wait, do you have memories of, like, was Grandma panicked about that when she got the
Well,
news? Was that just?
I don't remember that, but I remember writing letters to him while he was in the hospital,
Okay.
you know. And we stayed in Barrett. Mother probably went down there. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when we were living in town, we had either a Model A or Model T, I don't know, some old car. And in the summertime, if we played on the roof, it would melt the tar. And so we weren't allowed to do that very often.
Well, I would think not.
Yeah. And so then we lived in town for, I don't know how many years. But then when I was probably about third or fourth grade, we moved out to the farm, mile and a half from Barrett. And when Dad went to look at the property, the fellow we bought it from was a carpenter. So Dad knew, you know, that things would be good shape.
Mhm.
So he looked at all the barn and the, you know, the granary and the chicken coop, and they were all well done. Never looked at the house. Well, the house had no electricity, no running water. The support in the basement, Dad could pound a nail through with his hand. But, you know, you make do. And that first year without electricity, Mother said we were a very close family because we went wherever the lantern was.
So you guys went from living in town in Barrett, where you had electricity, you had a
Yeah.
bathroom inside and all that, to going out basically homesteading
Yeah.
on the farm, where all those amenities, goodbye.
Yeah. It was 40 acres, 20 acres under cultivation. We were high on the hill overlooking the lake. And then we had a low spot down in front where the natives camped a lot. The
Yeah,
Indians.
Grandpa used to have a ton of arrowheads.
Yes, and he was always looking for arrowheads. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a boy from town who would sneak over to come and look, and Dad always had to chase him off because he wasn't going to share his arrowheads with anybody.
So when, I don't know if you remember the details on this, but when Grandpa got back from the hospital, before you're buying the house out there, what was it like for him trying to find a job with just one arm?
He became foreman
Okay.
of the construction companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we were really poor. I never knew because we always had food on the table. We always had heat, you know. So you just kept living. And being young, you don't pick up on a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, but he became foreman of John Mark Construction out of Fergus Falls. And we just kept on a living. And it was several years later when my youngest sister was off on her own. And one of her friends found out Dad only had one arm. And she said, "Oh, what was it like living with a handicapped person?" And Jen said, "We didn't know he was handicapped."
That's my memories as a kid of Grandpa too. Is, you know, anything anybody else was doing, he was doing it.
Exactly.
Like when Dad had the Bobcat, he was the one doing the maintenance on the Bobcat.
Yep.
And I always thought, growing up, that driving a stick shift wasn't that big of a deal because Grandpa had a left hand.
Yep.
Only left hand, didn't have his right arm, and he would. I still remember he would raise his knees up on and hold the steering wheel. He'd reach through and shift, and then go back. And I was like, "Oh, he can do that. How hard is it with just your right hand?"
Yeah, yeah.
But the number of things that he did that made him look really effortless with one hand. There's a few things because below Reith is there in the garage.
Yep.
In the summertime or whatever, I'd go visit him all the time. I think hey, go see what your grandpa's doing, and whether there's sometimes helping. I never knew if he was trying to keep me involved with it or if he actually needed help. I don't think he really needed help most of the time that he asked for it. Yeah. But yeah, the term handicapped with him because he just had the one arm never crossed my mind.
No.
Unless somebody else brought it up.
He couldn't tie his dress shoes. He couldn't tie his tie. So I learned how to tie a tie. But otherwise, I mean, he drove tractors, he drove equipment, he drove cars, trucks, whatever. One time, we had a hay wagon there, and we were pitching it up into the hay mow, and this guy came looking for work. I think Dad was supervisor or foreman of the county then, and he kept telling Dad what a good worker he was. And so after he left, Dad said, "You're such a damn good worker. Why didn't you offer to help a one-armed guy and 3 young girls?"
That sounds exactly like Grandpa.
Yep. He probably wouldn't have accepted the help, but I mean, just the fact that you didn't offer. Yeah. But with him, the arm being torn out, they could never. He had several operations, but they couldn't connect the nerves or cauterize the nerves, and so he always had a lot of pain. And so you'd see him, clutching his shoulder. And of course,
as a kids too, that was Sarah and I. Oftentimes, he'd have the liniment, and he'd want us to help rub his shoulder on it because of the pain on there.
Yeah, he had lots of scars down the middle of his back.
So, I never knew Grandma Judy.
No,
she passed a month before I was born.
2 months.
2 months. So what? She's now got a husband that's got one arm. He's still working hard and everything, but at home, she was tending the house. Did you guys have a garden? Was she?
Oh, Dad loved to see things grow. So he would plant a big garden, and then we would have to weed it. But then later on, Mother worked at the grocery store and at the post office.
Okay.
Yeah, to help supplement. And when she worked at the grocery store, she had this little tablet, it's probably 3 by 4, little brown paper, and you'd write down all the items and the prices. And then page after page, depending on how many groceries, and then you'd have to add that up manually.
So when somebody came in, you'd have to write all that down, and
Yep.
then I like our way now. It's much more efficient.
Yeah. But Mother didn't have much of an education, but she had a very unique way of doing math, and it always worked. People marveled at how she did it, and I don't know her method, but it worked.
Worked.
Yeah.
There you go. So growing up on the farm, you're getting into how many people were in the high school? How many kids were in your graduating class? Because right now Bear doesn't have that many.
Oh, they don't
people.
have well.
They've got the county school.
The county school. Yeah.
But back then
there were 20 in my class, 10 in the year ahead of me, and I think all the classes were kind of 15, 16.
It's still a decent sized school at the time.
Yes. Well, you had all the farms, small farms around the area. And I know we were looking at my yearbook one time not too long ago, and you said, "Man, there was lots of kids in choir and band." And that was part of it. You did it. And the juniors and seniors. Seniors in the fall, juniors, anyway, seniors in the fall, juniors in the spring would have a class play.
Okay.
And so, since there weren't a lot of kids who were interested in it, I was in practically every play.
So what? I don't know if I was aware of your experience as an actress before, Mother.
Well,
What?
I think it was my senior year. I had won a contest in sewing. And so it was the same weekend as the play. And so I had an understudy, and I was being charged with murder. And so, anyway, after Friday
No
night.
wonder you didn't tell me you were in a play. You would have traumatized Sarah and I that her mother was charged with murder when she was in high school.
So Friday night after the play was over, Mother, Dad, and I get in the car, drive the 150 miles to Minneapolis so I could be in this show Saturday. And then we had arranged with our friends, the Gustafsons, to drive me home because they figured they'd make better time than Mother and Dad. So Mother and Dad get back to Barrett, and they say, "Where's Charlotte?" I said, "Oh, she's not here yet." But I made it on time. And the first night I was judged innocent. But the second night, the director, the teacher, went to the back because the jury was selected out of the audience.
Okay.
And the second night he came back and he said, "Hey, she was innocent last night. Let's make her guilty tonight." So is that jury tampering?
That double jeopardy. You're not supposed to be tried twice for the same crime and jury tampering.
Yeah.
You can't have administrators
So
telling them what
I
to
think
do.
I didn't have to act that I was surprised. I was shocked. What do you mean I'm guilty?
So with you doing that, you ended up going to college for home economics.
Yep.
But based on winning a contest on sewing when you're still in high school, was that something that started at home? Was that out of necessity back?
Mother did some sewing, but she didn't really teach us, but it was taught in school. And of course, we belonged to 4-H.
Okay.
And so I never did the big animals. I don't like big animals, but I did the chickens and the baking and the sewing and some of the gardening and things, those types of projects. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up having a very good home ec teacher and taught me a lot. And I wanted to be a librarian so I could read a lot.
What? Mom liking books?
Yeah, I tell you.
Get out of here.
And she convinced me I needed to be a home ec teacher. So I
think you were a great home ec teacher, but I think you would have been a great librarian based on at least the influence you've had on me over the years with the number of books that you've picked out for me to read and get me interested in that. So yeah, anybody that's asked me when they see the books in my house, it's like, yeah, it's my mom's fault.
Yeah. I'm the reason you're up late at night a lot of times.
Yes.
Not getting any sleep.
And I remember in school when you'd come and you're like, "Hey, you need to put it down. I'm reading a book." I was like, or the next day you're like, most days it was hard to get me out of bed, but
it was very hard to get you out of bed.
But you'd ask, you're like, "Well, how late were you up last night?" I was like, "Oh, like 1:00." You're like, "Douglas."
Yeah, because I'd go up and you'd say, "Okay, yeah," and then if I'd check back later, you were under the covers with the flashlight.
Well, yeah, and it was your fault because it's usually a book that you had given me and said, "I think you'll enjoy this," and I enjoyed it enough that I didn't want to put it down and go to bed.
But let me tell you, when I was in high school, to show how antique it was, one of the jobs I had on Saturday was to set pins at the bowling alley. And it was 10 cents a lane.
10 per game?
Per game.
So you'd be standing in the back and then when the pins...
You'd be up on this ledge, then you'd have to jump down, put the pins up, jump back up, jump. Oh, my legs would be so tired by evening. Then I would have...
So how many games would you...
Oh, I might make $1 or $2 that day. And then I would go home, have a quick supper, and then go babysitting until 4 o'clock in the morning. For 25 cents an hour.
25 cents an hour.
Yeah, and that meant not only playing with the kids, entertaining the kids, but doing the dishes, cleaning up, etc. You know, you didn't just sit.
So the
3 and 4 kids.
The work ethic that everybody comments to me about with my mother, it started young.
It started young. Then when I was in college, I got a job at the neighboring town working at the drugstore, Christmas and summer vacations. Mm-hmm. And so at the drugstore, the owner, the pharmacist, and his wife lived upstairs. Well, I learned how to decipher the doctor's handwriting and their shorthand for whatever. So if someone would bring in a prescription at night after they'd gone upstairs, I would grab the bottle, grab the prescription, bring it up to Cliff and say, okay, is this the right bottle? Is this what it says? Go down, type the label, count out the pills and sell it.
That sounds illegal.
I know.
I'm hoping the statute of limitations has run out.
I hope so too.
So, you're not... So in college, you're handing out prescription medications.
Yep.
All right.
But he trusted me to have the right bottle, and if I was going to take out of that same bottle
Yeah.
that I brought up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were going and checking with him and making
Oh, yeah,
sure
yeah,
that
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was- It's not like you're making up,
No,
just pulling pills.
But then you type the label.
Type the label and here you go.
Sell it.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah. So what?
And that was 75 cents an hour. So that was a big raise.
Well, it should be if you're
Yeah.
dealing drugs. You should get more money for that. So when you went, did you get out of high school? Was your plan when you went to the University of Minnesota? Was the plan to become a teacher?
Yes.
And so that and home economics
Yes.
was when did that first cross your mind that that's the route you wanted to take for your career?
Probably my senior year in high school. Yeah.
And was that due to like the 4-H and stuff like that you
Yep.
really enjoyed that, the
Yep.
teachers that you had?
Yep. And I don't remember what my tuition was the first year, but I think when I graduated, it was $125 a quarter.
$125 a quarter. There's a lot of people that
Would love to pay that now.
have to pay that now. Yeah.
And I was on St. Paul campus. The first year I was in a dorm, and the second and third year, I had babysat for this professor's family my first year. And then the second and third year, they moved to a different house where they had a third story with a bedroom upstairs. And so I lived with the Edwards then for 2 years. And I did babysitting, housekeeping, for my room and board.
So tell the story of the sponge cake. Well, that was at the Edwards, right?
That was at the Edwards. Dr. Edwards was a professor of kinesiology, I think. They were Jewish. I mean, coming from small rural Minnesota where it's all Lutherans, it was very educational. They were a wonderful couple. They had 3 kids when I was there. And Dr. Edwards loved baked goods. Mrs. Edwards very seldom baked. And so I'd bring back goodies from wherever I went home. Mother would have a box for them and a box for me because I could take upstairs. And so Mother and Dad's 25th wedding anniversary, her sister was making petit fours. And of course, there's a little piece of cake with frosting all around it. So her husband decided, so he cut some sponges the same size and frosted them. And so I brought some of those back for Dr. Edwards.
Did you know they were?
I knew.
So you did it on purpose.
And he said, and finally I said, Dr. Edwards, that's a sponge. But yeah, and they came to our wedding, and Dr. Edwards, very tall, skinny guy, and of course, the ladies' aid had all these nice cookies and goodies set out. And he was the one standing at the goodie table with the kids eating all the goodies.
That's my kind of guy right there. I would have gotten along well with Dr. Edwards.
Mother had never met Dr. Edwards, but she had met Mrs. Edwards. And so, just before the wedding starts, she goes to check on everything. And she said, I know who Dr. Edwards is, because he was the only one with I think a plaid shirt and a polka dot bow tie. And this was rural Minnesota, as I say, where it's white shirts and long ties. But they were a fabulous family to work for, and we kept in touch until they died. Yeah.
So when was it that you met Dad, and how did you meet Dad?
Well, the first time I saw him, he'd come up to Barrett fishing with Floyd Gustafson, and they stopped at the house. Yeah, okay. Then
How old were you then?
probably about a sophomore in high school.
Sophomore in high school? Yeah. Okay, so he was senior year in high school, or in college then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, I think it was either my junior or senior year, Floyd Gustafson invited Janet and I, my sister, to come pheasant hunting. Well, we were going to be hunting with Dave, who's a very serious hunter. And he was quite miffed because here were going to be these 2 girls who were going to slow him down. Well, we did not slow them down whatsoever. We kept pace. And one time, I got a shot off at a pheasant before Dave did. Of course, I missed and he got it. But that was the first time he really noticed me.
Sounds about right.
So then, we'd see each other occasionally, and then...
Because he grew up in
Boyd, which
is what's about 100 miles south.
100 miles south.
Yeah.
And that was Dave's hometown. So he knew the Gustafsons. And so, it was a convoluted, different friendships there.
Grandpa
Grandpa grew
grew
up
up down there, and that's how he
Yes.
knew the Gustafsons,
Yep,
right? So
yep,
that was the
yep.
connection.
That was the connection. Yep. And then when I was a junior in college, Dave came to the cities and called this gal to go out, and she had other plans. So I think he was staying at Floyd and Waltz, and so he had my number, so he called me. So we talked for a while, but then it was right at supper time, so I had to hang up. And so after supper, I thought, doggone it, I'm going to call him back.
Oh.
And so we talked for a long time, and he said if I wouldn't have called him back, he probably never would have.
Never would have called again?
Never called again. So because of that calling back is the reason we're here.
Dang. Glad the phone lines were working.
So that was in January, and a couple of weeks later it was President's Day, and I had the weekend off, and he was teaching in Dawson, Minnesota at the time, and so he was going to drive up the 100.
Now this is your junior year
in college.
in college.
Yep. And so he drove the 100 miles to take me to a movie.
Dang, that's some commitment there. Even now, driving 100 miles for a movie is crazy. I can't imagine back then driving 100. That was what, 1959 then? Or no, 63.
63.
63, driving 100 miles.
Mm-hmm. And that first date after the movie, he kind of mentioned, do you think you could marry somebody that likes to hunt and fish?
Wow. Pretty forward there.
So then I think in June or July, he proposed and wanted to get married then. And I said, nope, I'm going to finish my last year of college because otherwise I probably won't finish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to finish.
Yeah, because if he was in Dawson teaching and then going back, that wasn't going to work.
It wasn't going to work. So
you finished your degree.
Yep. Got married in July.
Graduated what, in June or May?
June. End of June.
Yeah.
Wedding was 25th of July. We went on a short honeymoon, then packed up and moved to Alaska.
So when did you start looking for, because obviously you didn't wait until you graduated before you found a job. What was the job search like then?
Well, first of all, Dave wanted to go to Montana or Wyoming. He'd hunted out there and he liked the areas. And there were no openings for both of us. And then one night he said, what about Alaska? And I said, why not? For 9 months, we could put up with anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what we knew about Haines was that it was a small town in a valley.
But how did, I'm trying to think back there. Right now, you go online, find out where the jobs are.
Oh, yeah.
Were you guys writing letters or was there like a central place that had all the job postings?
No, we just, Dad said, you want to be on the road system, but I don't want to be in Nome or Bethel or up north. And so I don't know how we picked Haines, and I think we did apply in Petersburg also, which wasn't on the road system. I think there were a couple places, but Haines had a position for both of us.
So here you come.
Yeah, so here we come.
So you get married and then short honeymoon and start the drive from...
Well, and let me tell you about the honeymoon, because in March of that year, there was a sportsman show in Minneapolis. So Mother and Dad and Dave and I went. And of course, as soon as we hit the door, Mother and I start signing up anything free, gifts, whatever, drawings. Well, Dad and Dave were giving us such a bad time, so we quit. Well, a week later, I get this letter saying, you've won a week's vacation at this lodge in northern Minnesota. So that was part of our honeymoon.
And that brings up, because throughout my life, the number of raffles that you have won seems to be inordinately high.
Yes.
After that first one, did it take some more wins before Dad was like signing you up for everything? Because I remember as a kid, anybody asked for a raffle ticket, he'd go see my wife.
Yep.
If there's something, he's like, Charlotte, fill this out.
Yep.
And it was for that reason, because he never won anything, but
No.
you seem to win stuff.
One time at a trade show, if he bought so many scopes or whatever, it was a drawing for a gun. And so he said, I'm not going to sign it. He said, Charlotte, sign it up. And I won the gun.
Yeah.
And Ralph Swinton has it today.
Yeah. Sacco 7mm.
Yep.
Yeah. Beautiful rifle.
And I've won a big TV. And one year, I wanted to support the groups that were selling tickets.
Yeah.
And so I'd buy a raffle ticket for everyone that came along. I don't know, there were 5 or 6 or 7 that year. And I won something, either first, second, or third prize on all of them. People would stop buying tickets if they knew I'd bought one. So,
Well, but you got a free honeymoon out of it too.
Yeah,
Started
yeah.
off. That's a good way to start off.
But part of the honeymoon and the trip up here, because I had the home economics degree, but
Yeah.
I was also going to be teaching physical ed. And I didn't have enough credits for physical ed. So I was doing correspondence courses on the way up here. to get enough
Seriously, you're
credits.
doing wait, and it cracks me up that you're teaching physical. I apologize, Mom, but it cracks me up
I
that
am.
you're teaching physical education.
Yeah, no, you have a right to laugh. You have a right to laugh because I'm the most uncoordinated person around. But I'd say, okay, Dave, what am I teaching today?
So he's writing up 2 lesson plans. His and yours.
Yeah, right. Okay, what are the rules for this game?
Yeah.
How do you play this game?
So how long did it take you guys? I mean, I don't think you're trying to get up here in like any quick hurry, but from driving from Minnesota to Haines, how
Well-
long did that take you guys?
Well,
on that?
we allowed 2 weeks because people said the road is full of these huge potholes and these huge boulders. Fill your car with spare tires because you're going to have so many flats. We thought, oh boy. So we allowed 2 weeks. Well, we made it to Whitehorse and we camped along the way. We were having a great time and got to Whitehorse in less than a week. And so, okay, now what do we do? And of course, one of the funny things about getting into Whitehorse, we were camping. Dave hadn't shaved, and he said, "Oh, we're getting to a big town. I've got to shave."
Of course he does.
Yeah.
He still did that up to there. He's leaving the house. I got to shave.
I got to shave. Yeah.
Dad, you're going for a car ride.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to see you. You don't need to shave.
But so then we camped. Oh, at every spot along the way from Whitehorse. I think it took us 4 days, because we didn't have a place to stay.
Uh-huh.
When we had accepted the offer from Haines, and I wrote back and I said, we'd like to rent a 2-bedroom furnished house. And I'm sure they just laughed their heads off because it was absolutely.
Yeah, so would a lot of so would other people.
Yeah, right.
That doesn't exist here.
So we spent the first several months living at the Thunderbird Motel
Okay.
because that was what was available. When we first got there was just a room available with no kitchen facilities. But then after Labor Day, then people had moved out. So we moved into the unit that had a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah.
So it's 1964. What was your starting salary at Haines?
I think it was about $8,000.
$8,000 each?
Yep.
So $16,000.
Mm-hmm. But see, Dave, when he left Minnesota, was making $4,200.
Oh, so that was
So we thought
you guys were rolling in dough.
Oh, man, we were going to.
Yeah.
But we realized that 2 can live as cheap but only half as long.
There you go. Yeah.
But the first year, of course, Dave wanted to go hunting. He's a hunter. And no one would take him because he had not proven himself
Yeah.
as to, I mean, you can say you're a hunter, but can you actually shoot and can you gut the, can you do it? And he was just moping around because he was the only man in town over 12 that wasn't out hunting.
That was out hunting. Mm-hmm.
Well, the last weekend, the Loomis family said they would take him. So they went up the road to the cable car.
Which is pretty much where the 26-mile bridge going over to Porcupine is now.
Yep.
But just up above that, there's a cable car
There was
going
a
to the
cable
other
car.
side.
And so you had to pull yourself over, and then they walked into almost to where the farm is now.
Yeah.
And of course, Dave was so excited, and they set up camp and whatever. They had a three-sided cabin. And the next morning, he got up early and realized that he didn't have the proper scope. But he got a moose anyway. And he not only shot it, but he started to gut it, and they let him carry a lot of it out to see if he, if he to prove himself.
Yeah.
And so that weekend he had that, and then Carol McHenry had come over, and they helped him pack out a moose, and they had a skiff that went out to the water to get the first moose, and then they'd paddle it back, and then carrying it back to the cable car, they had a wheelbarrow. One was pulling the wheelbarrow and somebody else was pushing with a pack on your back. And you know how far it is into the farm.
That's quite a ways. That's a pack there.
And there was no road.
Yeah. No, you're going through the brush and everything. That's for a moose. That's a good pack.
And that weekend,
But I don't know if it'd be, I don't know if it'd be better in a wheelbarrow. I think
I
it'd be easier to just put it on your back and go through
Well, but see, then
everything.
you've got one piece in the, you can double your time. You know, you've got
Well,
one in the wheelbar
yeah.
and one on your back. So, but I had gone to a conference up in Anchorage, and we landed at the water down the harbor.
With the old Gorman Goose.
Yep. And so I thought, I'm going to surprise Dave. And so I walk up the hill to the Thunderbird Motel, knock on the door. I said, he's going to be so pleased to see me. And so he comes in and he said, oh, it's you. He was so exhausted. I thought, wow, what a greeting.
Did it make sense once he told you
Yes,
the amount of
yes,
moose meat
yeah,
he'd been packing the last couple days?
So, and then the next year, the teachers group over at Murphy Flats invited him. And so then we knew there was a moose because they would hang a sheet if there was a white sheet in the trees.
I remember as a kid going up, we'd go for a ride because
Yep.
moose season would hit.
Yep.
Dad would be gone,
Yep.
and we would drive up the road looking
Yep.
for a sheet on the other side of
Yep.
the river.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was our signal to, okay, this is what we're going to be doing the next couple days.
Yeah.
So then, by then we, well, that was in 64. We moved 4 times. In 65,
60, you moved 4 times?
well, we moved from the Thunderbird
Yeah.
to above the food center.
Okay. Which
Then
is
so-
right next door, so it wasn't
Yeah,
a big move,
yeah,
but still.
upstairs.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Lynnview because we were taking care of the superintendent's son. He was a senior in high school, basically cooking and keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
And then that fall, we moved into Eddie James's house, where the
Okay.
Nashes live now.
Okay.
And so then we lived there for a couple years. And then Doc Jones came to us one day and said, you know, Doc Allen is selling his house next to us. I think you'd be good neighbors. So why don't you look into it? So we
So
thought, okay.
Stan Jones recruited you guys
Yeah,
as neighbors?
yeah.
I didn't know that story.
So then we moved up the hill, up Menaker Road, Allen Road,
What year was that?
67.
67.
And we owned the house we were moving out of. We were going to be renting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 7 months pregnant with Sarah, had the worst cold of my life. And I said, let's just take this, a box at a time, because I had to clean the house before we could kind of move in. And I said, this is, let's just do it slowly. Okay. Well, then the people who were renting from us wanted to move in. And Dave said, oh, we can do this all at once. That was fine. It was the end of August. 1st of September, Dave went moose
hunting.
He was hunting every weekend. And so,
I'm seeing where that pattern started, where Dad got the rest of us to kind of, oh, this will be easy. We'll knock this out in no
Yeah.
time. He's like, yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. But then we had a 3-sided garage down at the end of or halfway down the end of the driveway. And we'd hang the moose in there. And all we'd put in front of it was a piece of plywood to keep the dogs out. And the women would wash it down. The guys that hang it would wash it down, put a new sheet over it. With Bill John owning the Thunderbird Motel, they had lots of old sheets.
Okay.
So we'd
Yeah,
make
you'd
bags
use
out of
those.
the sheets.
Yeah.
And then Thursday night, we'd go to one of the houses and cut it up. And then everybody would get, okay, you get a roast, you get a roast, you get a hamburger, divide it up for all the people. And then they'd go out hunting again Friday, and we repeat the process.
So on Allen Road, the garage we had down there, that you guys would just hang the meat in
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And there's never any issues with bears or
Nope,
anything in
never,
there?
never.
Oh, I don't remember that part where you guys were hanging meat down there.
Yep.
That was before my time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you were pretty little.
Yeah. So the one thing that always cracks me up about Dad, he loved to hunt.
Yep.
But I don't think everything always followed the law. Because there's times, if things were the stories he would tell about Murphy Flats, teacher's cabin, that superintendent's like, Dave, you're gonna have to take today off because it's getting towards the end of the season. And so he'd get the day off school. They'd send him over there. And the one time he had like 2 or 3 moose down by the day then, and then the rest of the teachers came over and they were just started packing it out. I'm like, these are the people who are supposed to be setting the standard for
Yeah,
everybody
right.
else.
Yeah, I hope the statute of limitations is going on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone. So
Good luck putting down. Like even when he got in his wheelchair, he's like, "What are they gonna do? Put me in jail? They don't have a spot for me."
right, yeah.
Even more so now.
So then in 66, we drove out with 2 other teachers And we drove to Minnesota in 72 hours. Dave,
That trip, that is crazy to me when you guys talk about, because you guys were
we were
switching
supposed,
people out.
yeah,
But
but
still, from in '66, from Haines to Minnesota in
gravel
72
roads.
hours on gravel roads, that is and you guys would give us a bad time about driving too fast.
Well, and the thing, we were going to take turns driving. Well, Dave said every time he woke up, we were in the same spot. He said, I'll drive. Well, we got to Mother and Dad's, and Mother fed us, and Dave and I went to bed, and I think we slept for 20 hours. Well, then our friend Walt Gustafson flew us to Iowa, where we picked up a new truck, and then we drove to Toronto to get a jigger, which was a all-terrain yellow fiberglass bathtub with 8 wheels. And brought that over to Murphy Flats.
How much did the jigger cost? Do you remember?
I think it was a couple $1,000s.
Couple $1,000.
Yeah.
So you're making 16 grand and you spent 2 grand on on a jigger.
And I don't remember what the truck cost, but I know the car that Dave bought before we came up here was $1,800.
$1,800. So the jigger cost almost as much as a new car?
Yeah, probably. Maybe I don't know, but yeah.
I never asked Dad the price of that, but that was always because I remember anytime for like ATVs and stuff. Nope, can't afford them. It's like, and then he talk about how much fun he had in this jigger, which was like one of the original ATVs. Like, well, you got to have fun in
and
it.
it would float. You know, you could take it down the river. You could. Yeah.
It's like the early version of an Argo.
Yeah. And then coming back from Toronto, we had stopped at my aunt and uncle's who lived in Uncle Yai and Eldine, who lived in a suburb of Chicago. And we stayed there overnight as we were going to Toronto. And one of the things they said, you don't want to get on the Dan Ryan Highway because there's all these shootings, etc. So you stay off the Dan Ryan Highway. So it's getting close to midnight. We're driving back from Toronto, and all of a sudden we realize we're on the Dan Ryan Highway. And the gas gauge is showing empty. And with the new truck, we have no idea how long we can go on empty.
Usually not very far.
Yeah. And so there's all these and people, were just, they saw that yellow thing in the back, and I was sitting closer and closer to Dave, almost pushing him out the door. But we got to the end of the Dan Ryan Highway, and there was a gas station.
Perfect.
But it was scary. Oh dear.
So then you come back, got the jigger in the back of the truck, or was it on a trailer?
Nope, in the back of the truck.
Back of the truck, come back to Alaska. That was what was different, I guess, between you're in a small town, western Minnesota, small town in southeast Alaska. Did you guys know, other than obviously the geography and stuff like that, were there similarities? Were there differences between how the people interacted and things like that?
No, everyone was very pleasant and very, very nice to us. One of the things we had seen, we knew that there was no Lutheran church in town, but we knew there was one in Juneau. So we thought we'd just and we knew there was a ferry, so we'd just take the ferry to Juneau to go to church on Sunday.
How well did that work out for you?
That did not work out at all. Well, and one thing that was different, of course, we got freight only once a month. So all the groceries, all the parcel post came once a month. And so the first Christmas...
Was that a steamship at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And the first Christmas, we were at a party at Carl Ward's, and someone said, have you checked your mail? And I said, post office is closed at 10 o'clock. I said, no, they're open until midnight. And for years, the post office would be open until midnight on Christmas Eve, because that's the day the barge came in.
Okay.
And if they knew you were looking for Christmas presents for your kids, they would call you if you hadn't picked them up,
I remember even later, because Retha Young, who was the postmistress for a long time, that she was great friends with her family. Sarah and I always considered her like another grandmother. Yep. But she was always at her house, for Thanksgiving, for Easter, for Christmas. And there's a couple of years when we were younger that she had to go back. And so we went down as a family and are like sorting mail, and she's calling people to come pick up their packages on Christmas Eve.
And I have told that to some people who work for the post. I say, oh, don't tell me.
Oh,
that's
exactly.
So illegal.
Exactly. That's what they're like, yeah.
Oh, you'd say, "Oh, Joe Smith, whose box is this? Oh, 22, you know." She just knew all the
She
box
knew
numbers.
she had every
Oh,
single one.
totally.
If
Yeah,
there was one that didn't have a box number,
yeah.
you just
Oh,
shout out it and
yeah,
she'd tell
yeah,
you exactly
yeah.
which one it
Where to
was.
put it? Yep.
Yeah. But no, I think we did that twice. That
Yeah.
I remember going down there and calling people up,
Yeah.
and then the people that were coming to get the packages, of course, they're really really grateful that
Yeah.
they're there.
Yes.
But I think her going down at that time, and I don't even know if they'd let them do that now, even if
Right.
they wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to go down and take that time out on Christmas
It was
Eve,
a real customer service.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
make sure people had their packages
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No,
To
that was
make
just
sure Christmas was, yeah.
that was something, one of those, you'll learn from the people around you, and learning not only from you and Dad, but from Retha, from Grandpa, and just the people that are always going the extra mile on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Retha was one of a kind.
Yes.
He was,
Oh, yes.
he was pretty. And then I remember with her for when Scouts with the Pinewood Derby, I've still got the picture. I think she'd come with the postal scale, and she had their big hat. They'd made this big hat and stuff, and she was the official wearer
Yep.
on everything with their certified postal scale to make sure all the cars were the correct weight.
The correct weight.
Yep, yep. They made a big deal out of that. Yep. So, but you guys felt, other than that first year took Dad a little bit to get into hunting and stuff, but you guys felt welcome right away.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, our clique was kind of the teachers. We were all kind of in the same boat. And so it took some getting used to, where you had to order stuff a month and ahead, and of course everybody just waited for the JCPenney, the Sears, and the Montgomery Ward catalogs. So those are the dream books, you could sort through. Oh, I think it was those. In fact, I was so dumb. One of my responsibilities was I was supposed to be advisor for the drill team. I'd never seen a drill team. Oh, and another reason I got into home ec now was I wouldn't have to teach boys. So my first class of the morning was boys cooking.
Boys cooking. I've heard a lot of stories about boys cooking class over the years.
I think they taught me more than I taught them.
I don't know how old I was when I first started hearing from Bill Thomas, Mike McHenry, and some of them. They'd come into the store. When we had your mom and boys cooking, they always, I think they felt bad about it later, but at the time they really enjoyed picking on you.
Oh yeah. But I got very nice gifts from them at Christmas.
Did you?
Yes.
Yep.
But anyway, so you'd order, there's 20 girls in the drill team, 18, 15, whatever. And so you'd order all matching shirts. Well, they'd come in different shades of gold.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They were never the same color. And just, in fact, one of the first things when I was starting with PE, I said, okay, I want you all to come with white shorts. Well, there's no place in Haines to buy PE shorts. And for sewing, you had Neil Duty, who would get one bolt of fabric in a year. And so
everybody, whatever they're sewing, it's all going to be out of the same fabric.
Oh dear. So yeah.
So you were for home ecs, you had boys cooking. Did you have you didn't have women and boys and girls couldn't cook together? They had just a special boys cooking?
Yeah, just special boys cooking.
Boys cooking.
And then there was 7th and 8th grade home ec and freshman, sophomore. I don't remember how many classes I had. Yeah.
Okay. And then PE.
PE.
And what grades were you teaching PE to?
High school.
High school.
Yep. And
just one PE class?
Yeah.
Were you the only PE teacher
Yeah.
then? You were the only PE teacher for how long?
For the women. Dave was for the men, for boys.
So you didn't have co-ed PE classes?
Oh no.
Oh. Yeah.
Although I think one time we did invite the boys so we could teach ballroom dancing.
Oh. That wasn't that long ago that you're having separate PE classes for boys and girls. I did not know that there were separate classes for that. All
And
right.
for the drill team, I was so fortunate to have Barb Henderson, Ann Henderson, Sue Shook, so many of these gals who had been in the drill team, and they just basically ran it. They came up with the drills, just so many of them that really, I was just kind of there to make sure they didn't misbehave.
So you come up in 64. Sarah's born in 68.
67.
67, that's right.
Yep. So I quit teaching that year.
You quit
when
teaching
I got
that.
pregnant. Yep. And so
So you only taught for 3 years.
3 years. Yep. And Dave taught
Okay.
for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. And so I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And Carl Ward, Frankie Perry came after me,
Mm-hmm.
and then she got pregnant. So someone was going to have to finish out the school year. So Carl Ward came to me and said, "Would you finish out the year?" And I said, "Only if I can bring Sarah to class."
Okay.
And he said, "No, that's not going to work." So then I think Ann Quinlan took over again because she was the teacher before me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Wait, Ann Quinlan was a home ec teacher?
Yep. Yep.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I succeeded her, and then Frankie Perry, and then
And Frankie's who I had for home ec
Yes.
in junior high
Yeah.
and high school.
yeah, and she took
Yeah.
off for a while. And then in March of '69, we had Homemakers meeting at my house,
Mm-hmm.
and Allie Cordes and Lola Vogel, and I think a couple others who had been here a while, said, we used to have a fair. I think we should have a fair. And so that was the first year of the Southeast State Fair. And we held it at the Legion,
In the Legion Hall.
in the Legion Hall. First couple of years was at the Legion Hall. Frankie Perry really headed that up. She and Pauline Helms did a
Okay.
fantastic job. Yeah. And,
Was it just exhibits at the time then?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we had a little fashion show.
Oh, fashion show too. All right.
And so it was basically cooking and some gardening and so
Mhm.
forth. And I don't remember what year.
So this homemakers you're talking about, was this a official like group you guys had?
Yep. Yeah, a homemaker. It was called the Haines Homemakers. Yeah. And we'd just meet monthly and have a speaker or whatever.
And talk about canning or
Right, yeah.
whatever?
One time a gal said, bring a mushroom, because she was going to teach us how to identify mushrooms. And the one that I brought was the most poisonous.
Good job.
Yeah, and I've never picked mushrooms.
Never pick mushrooms. You're gonna go to extreme. If you're gonna hit the top, go one way or the other.
That's right, yeah.
Gotta win one of the awards. Yeah.
And so when they built Harriet Hall, Dave built that,
Mm-hmm.
and he had made some arrangement to where I think he supplied the labor or whatever, if they would buy the materials. And then there was a little earthquake, and the sides were kind of just up. And so it started shaking. He thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be, but it stayed up, and he was able to finish the building.
I remember being out there. I think it was just him and I.
Yeah.
I wasn't old enough to do anything
No.
other than get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I was playing in the dirt, whatever, and watching him spray paint the outside of Harriet Hall
Yep.
the first
Yep.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who it was, about 10 years ago or whatever. And they're talking about Harriet Hall. I think it was when they remodeled it and stuff.
Probably.
And I told them, I was like, yeah, my dad built that. And they're like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
he did.
I remember watching him do it.
And one time he was up on the ladder and here a deer walked by.
Really?
Yeah. And Dad was out there helping.
So when you guys first got here, because he had North Star Construction, he had other stuff. Did that start that first year we had these side businesses outside of teaching, or?
No, that was a few years in, probably 3 or 4 years in. And for some reason, he decided that we need to get in construction. He had several other guys. They were
Well, he always had a reason to get into something
Yeah.
else. That never ended.
no,
That
no.
never ended.
And so there were about 4 guys. They formed North Star Corporation. And so for some, I have no idea how, we started selling Lindell Cedar homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dave would send the floor plans down to Sears. Sears would do all the mechanical. And so that they'd send up whatever pipes, whatever faucets, whatever electrical we needed. And so I had a very good relationship with Sears. And so we built several, helped build several of the Lindell Cedar homes here, a couple in Juneau. He had to go down and work. And so then in '71, he decided to quit teaching because the guy doing construction kept interrupting his classes, asking him, hey, what do we do about this? And this didn't show up. And he was getting too many interruptions. So he decided, no, he'll quit. And since he likes sporting goods, let's open a sporting goods store.
Yeah. Last time he went hunting and fishing. That's when he
Exactly.
made that
Yeah,
decision.
right. So we had enough money to buy a half a lot. And so we put up a 24 by 48 building. And that first year,
And most of that was leftover materials from Lindell Cedar Homes, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Was
yeah,
a lot of that?
yep. Well, and then, see, I think it was the second year we were here. Uh, Haines House was where the Presbyterian Church is now,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a three-story boarding school for the natives from other villages. And so the Presbyterian Church wanted that torn down, and so Dave and I said, we tear it down. And I think we must have done it in the wintertime, because all I can remember is being blessedly cold. It was so cold. But the bricks from it went to Gilbert's house. You know, we built Sharnboy's house with it. And of course, oh, it was so cold. It was so cold. Dad worked on it, helped tear it down, and yeah.
So you just recycled Haines House into other buildings in Haines.
Yep. I mean, he was always doing something.
Yeah, and then there was a time that you guys had Haines Sanitation as well.
Yeah, Haines Sanitation. Yep.
And at the time, if I'm not, it's like where Haines Home Building Supply is now. It was behind there where you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
And this is, I correct me if I get this wrong, but it was kind of funny because was it a year or two ago, we were having, I don't know if it was at Christmas or if it was at Thanksgiving, Easter, one of the times the whole family was together, and Dad was talking about that, and he was talking about just going out, and he goes, yeah, when you get too much, you just light it on fire and you burn it. And all of us were like, whoa, wait a second. He just put a pot and put some gas on it and goes, yep, just burn it. All right.
Okay.
But for us, it wasn't as much the fact that he was burning garbage, or it was just the matter of fact way that he was like,
Did it.
yeah, just pile it up, we just burn it.
Yeah.
And so how long did you guys own Haines Sanitation as
I think
well?
just a couple years.
Couple
2 or
years,
3
and then-
years. And then
yeah.
the other partners wanted to get out. And so we said, you take Haines Sanitation, we'll take North Star Enterprises and Alaska. Then I think it was Alaska Sport Shop. Maybe then we changed it to Alaska Sport Shop. But
'Cause I saw something, I think it was North Star Sports.
yeah, okay.
Because I think there was
okay.
a letterhead or something we
Yeah.
saw somewhere where it was North Star Sports, or as a sign, I think that said North
Yep,
Star
yep,
Sports. And
yep,
then he changed it to Alaska
yep.
Sport Shop.
Yep. And the first winter, I think we started in the fall building it. And of course, we were down there every night pounding on the floor. You kids were down there, you know, passing Dales or whatever. And the first thing Dad had to sell at the Alaska Sport Shop was surplus Sears winter boots at $15 a pair.
$15.
And he'd gone, sold 2 pair today, sold 4 pair today. And thankfully, it was a long winter, and they didn't last long, so people had to keep buying them.
What, $15? Sears Roebuck discontinued boots.
And then we couldn't find a supplier because there was already a sporting goods store down the street. And we couldn't find a wholesaler that would sell to us. We finally found Washington Hardware that would sell to us. And so somehow we had some money, so we went down there, and Dad was like, kid in the candy shop, listen, you.
I'm well aware of his habits at buying shows.
Yes. And so little by little, we got a little bit more and a little bit more. And then my friend Ruth King came by one day, and she said, Charlotte, we need a fabric store. There was a gal over at Port Chilcoot who had some fabric and some patterns in her basement. She said, we need something on Main Street. I said, oh, okay. Well, I'd been with Dave to Sears a couple times, and one time I got to go to their employee store, and they had these pre-cut fabrics. And I thought, nah, I didn't want to be working full time.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, pre-cut, you know, the women would buy them, Dave would sell, off you go. Well, they sent bolts. And a lot of the women were very skeptical as to whether Dad could cut that straight.
It's all about, he informed me of this. It's just like shooting free throws.
Yep.
It's all at the elbow. Keep the elbow in, keep it straight.
And if they question him, he said, if it's crooked,
Yeah.
he would either give them half price, or, I mean, there was some, and
Yeah.
nobody ever had to take them up
Came
on
back on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So then he started getting more and more sporting goods. If you have fabric, you have to have some notions. If you have fabric and notions, you need some patterns. And so I was in the back corner, and so it's getting too crowded for both of us. But it was a wonderful situation, because the women would be happy over in their corner, and the men could talk hunting over there.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, I'm going to buy a gun. What? If you're going to buy a gun, I can get some. But So then we decided, okay, we'll borrow some money and we'll add on. So we borrowed $50,000 to add on for my store and to stock it really well. Well, the reason we got the patterns in there, I talked to the gal who had them over there, and we traded a gun for the. Of course, Dave kept saying, "You never paid me for the gun," but we had just gotten kind of enclosed, and here comes this head honcho from Sears, because David always told Haines needs a Sears store, and he came up. He hated to fly, but he flew up here, checked at the post office, see how many post office boxes, did his research. He said, "You build it, and we'll come." And so then we had to take that money and build another section with a higher roof because they were going to have the carpet rolls of carpet.
Okay.
And so they had appliances, And for several years, Haines was the top seller in Alaska for Sears. Yeah, they had the best, and they had some really good gals working there.
Yeah, I remember they used to have that back room.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was just the front, like third,
Yep.
was they'd have their display of whatever
Appliances,
it was, appliances and
yep.
stuff. But then the back, they had it marked out on the floor, all these grids where they'd stack the freight. And there's quite a bit of stuff that went through there.
Freight would come to there, and then they'd call and say, "Here it is." Yeah. And so it was a very.
And so that was 75 that was built?
I don't remember.
I want to think it's 75 because with the bicentennial in 76, I want to think that was the year that when we're doing the float that you had the full front of the store.
Okay, I could be. I don't remember.
Because I was.
Well, so then we decided.
Because what year did I start kindergarten? Was it 76 or was it 75? Was I 6?
Yeah.
Because I remember coming over after kindergarten.
Oh, yeah.
And helping with nails and everything that. It was when I was in kindergarten.
Dad would say, "I need a 6-penny nail," and you'd give him a 6-penny nail or whatever size he needed. Yeah.
Because I think it was when I was in kindergarten was when you guys, so it was 75 and probably finished it in spring of 76 or whatever.
So then Jimmy Combs' dad was building it for us. And we said, well, if we're going to do that. And then his dad said, well, let's build another section on, and I will rent it and have bulk groceries. Well, by the time it got done, he decided not to do that. So somebody came in and had sort of a thrift shop, bulk figs and stuff, and just kind of a hippie shop. And then he moved out, and about that time, Sally Thompson didn't want to do the bakery anymore, so we moved the bakery up here.
So I remember going to that bakery before it was up here. Where was that?
Just above Bear's Den.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to remember. Cause I remember going in there with Grandpa, but then I was still really, really young, and then it was all of a sudden there's no bakery anywhere. Then I'm going with Grandpa, until it was over here.
Yeah.
Well, I was at the store for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it was an insurance thing, right?
It was insurance. Insurance went way up, and he said, we can't afford this. So then he had been talking to John Dobler, so he bought the building where the bakery is now, which was 4 apartments. And we'd been working with the farm at that time, and so they redid the inside to make it into a restaurant and bakery.
Yeah.
And then they ran it until they sold it.
And so then he moved the sporting goods from the original section over to the far end, and then you put men's clothing in the sport shop.
Yep.
You had the fabrics on the far end. Yep. The other one was Sears and Roebuck.
So there were 4 individual doors.
4 individual doors to go in there, the Haines Mini Mall.
Yep.
And I still have this distinct memory. I know it was Kurt and I don't know if Carl was involved with this too, because you and Jeanette were Girl Scout leaders at the time. And I distinctly remember boxes of Girl Scout cookies, the cases of them. And I think it was Kurt and I that we made forts because you didn't have any merchandise in there yet. There's just this big room, tile floor, and all these boxes of cookies. And it's like, let's stack these suckers up and make some forts. Perfect use for it.
I tell you, yeah.
Perfect use for Girl Scout cookies.
That's right. That's right.
So now you're mid-70s. In 1970s, you're not 70 at that time. That was much later.
Yeah.
You've got 2 kids. Dad, you hadn't been teaching for a while. Dad it's been a few years in business. Was this, at that time, were you thinking that was a good decision? Or were you going, my God, what the heck were we doing?
Well, we were living on $300 a month because that's all we could afford. 125 went for house payment.
Holy cow.
But, we did it.
Well, that was one, when you had mentioned earlier that you figured, you're looking back on it, you were probably poor, but you never knew it.
Yeah.
I never thought we were poor.
Yeah.
But I look back at the things as a home ec teacher that the meals we had and everything, we were always well fed. We always had good food. But I look back now at what you were feeding us. I was like, Mom knew how to stretch a dollar in the kitchen. she could make a dollar go a long ways with the different. And it was always there was a lot of variety to what we're eating. But looking back at what we're eating as a kid, is like, Mom knew what she was doing. She knew how to shop.
And you just have to make do with what you have.
Well, and part of it too, because we always had a big garden down below the house with Grandpa for several years. He would help with that. Then we had the chickens, so we had eggs, and at the end of the year we'd have the chickens. Dad didn't do as much hunting anymore after a few years, so he didn't have as much of the moose meat and stuff. But yeah, it was just figuring out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So the next big thing for me in my memory, and you can correct me if there's something in between this, things seem to be going along well. Stores growing, happening there. And then I want to say it was September or October of 78 when I was in third grade when the house caught on fire. Or the garage. It was third grade, and so I'm thinking, so it had to be fall of 78, because in 80 was I finished fourth grade in 80.
Okay. Yeah.
So it had been spring of 79 that I got out of third grade. But Dad was
in Seattle on a buying trip. With Frank Putnam, buying for the Four Seasons of Alaska.
So he's buying for the Four Seasons. Is that what they were doing?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember where they were going.
Yep.
But you and Sarah and I were home. Sally, our black lab, was home.
Yep. And that night, Retha had come up for dinner because the next day Scott Patterson was coming up.
Oh, I forgot.
And so I made
right
extra chicken, extra potato salad, for the next day. And when Retha came, she said, I smell something burning. I said, oh, my oven, it's just so dirty. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I do not remember that part.
And then when she left, she said, I still smell something burning. I said, it's just my oven, Yeah.
Yeah, and like 5 o'clock in the morning, Sarah's waking me up because Sally's outside of our bedroom window going crazy.
Yep.
Look out the window, and the whole garage is just engulfed in flames.
And for some reason, I banged, probably a paint thing broke or whatever, exploded. But I woke up and I said, kids, there's a fire. Get out of here. Crawl out your window. That's where the fire is.
I remember that part. And then we came down, and you were in the living room trying to call the fire department. But with the party line, you could hear them.
I could hear the police, but they couldn't hear me.
They couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
And so we crawl out your bedroom window.
And so then I'm sitting there, okay, now what? I need to get some stuff out of here. What do I need to get?
And that's when Stan Jones and
Craig came over. Craig said, get out of there.
But then the fire department comes up. We're over, pretty soon because it was cold and everything. We didn't have really any clothes on, whatever we're sleeping in. And so we go over to Stan and Pat's. And so I remember, I think it was that night we slept in their basement. And then the next night we're out in their travel trailer.
Yep.
And to this day, if I'm in it was raining, it was fall, it was raining. That sounded so much like the flames to me. I could not sleep in that travel trailer. And anytime that I've been in a camper, travel trailer like that in the rain, that brings me back to that time, just like in a heartbeat. And I think it's probably why I've never had one.
Yeah.
Because it always sounds, I don't know if I've ever slept well in one when it's raining. If it's not raining, it's fine. But when it's raining, that's still that sound on the roof.
Well, and see, part of it too, with our ceiling that had that funny tile, and it crackled and crackled and crackled. Yeah.
Yeah, and it melted everywhere.
Yeah, melted down the walls.
Oh, that was such a mess.
Oh, it was such a mess. We had to strip it down to the 2x4s because
between the smoke.
And you guys were so sensitive to smoke smell after that.
Oh yeah,
for such a long time. Oh my gosh.
Because all of our clothes were fine.
Yeah,
most of them. Yeah, but they were just black.
Yeah,
or really stained
Stinky.
From the smoke, and you could not get that. Yeah, and I didn't. I don't think for me it was so much that they were stained with the smoke, but the smell and the memory back
Yep.
to waking up and seeing that.
Yep.
But I look at it that Sally,
Yep.
our lab,
saved us.
Yep.
Exactly.
And maybe we would have heard it when it was. I know it, as anybody that knew me at that time, and I probably would have been roasted before I woke up.
Yes.
That was not. I wasn't going to wake up on my own, more than likely.
No.
So without Sarah and Sally there, I would have been cooked.
Mm-hmm.
But Sally, she for whatever reason, she knew right outside.
Yep.
She was right outside of her window between us
And
the
maybe
fire.
she'd started barking at my window, and I wasn't getting a response.
Could
Who
have
knows?
been. Could have been. She might have started over there. But no, that was. I think for me, that was a big moment, and just so many things changed right then. And so we came and we're Elsie's.
Yep. Well, first we stayed out at Marty Tangs's.
I thought that was later. I thought we stayed there at the beginning, and then in the spring we moved to Tangs's.
I thought it was vice versa, but I don't remember.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could have been. Yeah, I don't know. I know we stayed at both places.
Yep.
Because actually, well, if Scott came right away, it was at Tangs's first because Scott was there.
Yeah.
I remember him being there. And that's where Gene Martin was.
Okay.
Gene Martin's house, right?
Yeah.
Was that Tangs's? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gene Martin's where he was at. I also thought that was a really cool house.
It was a cool house, yes.
Yeah. And then we're staying at Elsie's down on Main Street, which is cool. It's right. I mean, right across from school, right next to the store.
Yeah.
And she had cable TV.
Yes.
That was the first time we got to watch TV.
But you remember how you wanted to watch what was it, Highway Patrol or whatever, and Chips.
Of course.
Yes. And Dad wanted to watch Lawrence Welk.
Oh, Grandpa would always want to watch.
And they were on at the same time, so you'd be switched channel back and forth.
There's many a days that I thought he should go watch Lawrence Welk with Retha and leave us to watch Chips. Because there was a conflict there.
There was a conflict there.
That wasn't my first and only conflict with my grandfather. The next major one came when I was 14 and Retha gave me that Toyota Corolla that and I only had my learner's permit, and so Grandpa's like, he's thinking, he needs somebody to ride with him.
Yeah.
He's like, Doug, how about you bring me down and help with the tomatoes early in the morning?
Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, it was like 5 o'clock. I said, what time, Grandpa? He says, well, I should be there by 5. I'm like, that is not happening. And he was so mad at me. I'm trying to reason. I was like, when have you known me to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning? And you know that I hate tomatoes.
Yeah.
Why would I start changing my sleeping habits now?
For tomatoes. For
tomatoes. Give me something else and maybe, but not for tomatoes. That is not happening. But I remember because he'd always want to, I'd either drop him off at Retha's or at the bakery. I wasn't supposed to tell you if I dropped him off at the bakery because he wasn't supposed to go there.
Yeah, right.
But
then he had diabetes.
Because he had diabetes. But because the school was right across the street here, and a lot of times in the morning there'd be a police car that'd be stationed somewhere looking at that, and you couldn't drive through the back. You had to go out on Main Street, and I'd park alongside the store. And he always wanted me to drop him off and then just drive over. I was like, Grandpa, I can't do that. Oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Grandpa, they're watching me go over to the junior high school. They know I'm not 16. I'm going to get a ticket on this. They'll just pitch you. It won't be that bad. Don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not. If you're gonna bail out, go ahead. But I'm driving over to the store, and you're gonna have to. I apologize, but you're gonna have to walk back. But just about every morning that I drive down, he's like, you can just drop me off here. Like, yeah, no, I can't, Grandpa. Yeah. No, I can't.
Well, one story I want to tell you, because you probably don't remember it. In '65, Mother and Dad came up to visit.
Of course I don't remember it. I wasn't born till '69.
Well, but I mean, telling the story.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
And so Dad wanted to go goat hunting. Well, Dave and Shell John, and I think somebody else had gone up 18 Mile, 1st of August. I said, I'm not going to go if it's as hot it was the day before. Well, we left at 4 o'clock in the morning.
So, of course, it was cooler.
It was the hottest day of the year. I about died. So anyway, Mother and Dad come up. Dad wants to go goat hunting. So we start, and Dave kept saying, Don't take anything more than necessary. Don't take anything more than necessary. And Mother said, oh, we can just carry a shopping bag between us. And I said, no, Mother, we can't.
No, we
I
can't.
know we can't. So, but Mother was game to go. Did not have hiking boots. So she wore Dave's Converse high tops.
And how old is Grandma and Grandpa at this time?
So 66, Mother was 55,
Okay.
and Dad was 56.
With one arm.
With one arm, rifle over his shoulder, climbing through the bush. So we get to the top and make camp. Next morning we wake up, fog down to the ground. Well, Dave and I had been very kind. We gave Mother and Dad the double sleeping bag, and Dave and I had the single sleeping bag. And then since it was so
Wait, you guys shared a single sleeping
yeah,
bag?
yeah, yeah. And then since it was so cold out, he invited the dog into our single sleeping bag.
How do you fit you and Dad and the dog in those?
It was a tight squeeze.
Single sleeping bag because he only had labs, right?
Oh yeah,
even up here.
yeah,
So you got a black lab that you're.
Yeah.
All right, continue on with your.
And Mother kept saying, "I would die right now, but no one would have the strength to carry me back down." So anyway, they go back to Minnesota. Before they even get back to Minnesota, Dad said, "We're moving to Alaska."
That trip was.
Yep.
Or
65, they decided that we're moving
to Alaska.
So they move up here in 66, and Dad wanted to be partly employed.
Yeah.
And people said, "You're over 50. You've only got one arm. Where are you going to find work?"
Wherever he wanted.
Within a year, he was making more than Dave was teaching. He cleaned the Pioneer Bar. He cleaned the bank. He cleaned Schnabel's office. He cleaned the food center. I forget what else he cleaned, Yeah. He also did.
Wasn't he doing the state parks
too? He did
too?
the state parks. He did Mosquito Lake, Chilkoot, and one on the edge of town here.
Port Chilkoot.
Port Chilkoot.
Yeah.
And he supplied all the wood, cut all the wood for the. Of course, the Chilkoot wasn't as big then. It was just down at that one area. Supplied all the wood, hauled the garbage. Yeah. And then, I don't know what year the Wickersham came, but he contracted to clean the Wickersham between Haines and Skagway. So a bunch of us women would go out there, meet the Wickersham, ride over to Skagway, clean the staterooms, and come back. And we called ourselves Hub's Harem.
So in the 2-hour, 3-hour trip or whatever, you guys would clean everything and come back. And so that was before, obviously, they had onboard stewards and everything on the ships.
And that ship was so gorgeous. It was so beautiful. Yeah. But yeah, Dad, I mean, and I think he made more than he'd ever made in his life.
Well, I remember Tim telling me stories, especially at the Pioneer, that he loved working there because everybody, they dropped the coins and whatever, that there's usually quite a bit of money left on the floor in the morning or whenever he went in to clean.
Well, then Mother got cancer, and so she went out. And so if Dad went out to visit her, then Bonnie Scharnbroy and I would clean the Pioneer. And so it was early in the morning while you kids were still asleep. So the husbands were at home. And
you and Bonnie are out cleaning the bar?
Yeah. And so that big buffer, if you didn't do it right, I mean, it was dancing us all around the floor. And Vern Morey would sit over in the restaurant just laughing.
I wish I had video of that. Dad and Terry home with the kids.
Yep.
You and Bonnie out mucking out the Pioneer. All right.
So, But then Mother died in 69, and she found she had cancer shortly after she got here. She just had a physical, but around Thanksgiving time, she went to see Stan Jones, and she said he wanted some further tests. He said, "No, I'm going to wait until after the holidays." Well, she just kept having surgery after surgery, and the doctor in Juneau at one time said he'd never removed such a large tumor from anyone. Yeah. So, but then she went back to Minnesota. Dad stayed here to work, and would go back every once in a while. Yeah. And then after Mother passed, then he just stayed up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how long did he continue working? Because I remember as a kid, he was doing, when I was real young, he was doing some work, like helping out Aretha's and stuff. But I don't think I knew him for a long time where he was doing all of the cleaning unless that was just out of my head.
I don't remember how long he did that. Yeah. But it was mainly in his later time where he just basically worked at the laundromat.
Yeah.
It kept that
Yeah,
going.
kept that
And
going.
he'd come home and say, so and so was jamming all these pants in the tub. And I was pulling them out as fast as they won't even get wet if you put them on. And then I'll have to fix it when you break it.
One of my favorite things with him is at dinner, he would tell us because him and Ed Vogel
Yep.
or Jim Brulette,
Yep.
they would, any construction project that was going on, specifically road construction or anything, they would go out and we would get the rundown, how far they're making, what they're doing wrong.
Yep.
Very, very rarely was they were doing right. But we always knew what they were doing wrong on any kind of project. And I distinctly remember when I was on the Borough Assembly and they were redoing 4th Avenue from Main Street up. And they were talking about, wow, we don't know exactly what we're going to get into. There's these problems. And I said, here's the deal. The problem you have is when the last time that was redone is they took a bunch of tree stumps and they turned them upside down and they just put some fill over the top. If there's no rock in it, there's a bunch of, so what you're getting is you got these roots and stuff that are coming up through the chip coat on there. And that's caused it. And they're looking at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. And one of them came over and said, I said, I would go after school and I would sit over because Grandpa was in the Gene Hill's place over here. Jim Roulette was over there. And I'd be in one of their, because they always had milk and cookies in the afternoon.
Yep.
So wherever they were at, there was an incentive for me to go visit them and have some milk and cookies. And they're working on the road. And these guys are telling me exactly that. And so they tore it up. And the guy was like, I don't know how you knew that, but that's exactly what the problem was with the road. And I was like, Jim and my dad and my grandpa told me about that 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Well, and also, Dad was on the assembly or mayor, whatever he was at the time, and they'd have the meeting. The next night for dinner, Dad would say, "How come you guys decided on da 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 da?" And Dave said, "That wasn't even discussed, you know." But at the coffee shop.
At the coffee shop, Grandpa was one of the key ones. He was definitely dialed into the coffee shop.
Oh yes. Oh,
If there's certain times of day, if you were looking for him, he was at the coffee shop.
And I would fix him breakfast, and then he'd go to the coffee shop and have pancakes.
Yep.
And he went back one time to Minnesota, and my sister was fixing pancakes, and he said, "These don't taste right." He said, "What are you doing?" Because Vern Morey makes the best pancakes. He does. And my sister, "That's what I'm doing." Well, it doesn't taste the same.
So as we're talking about food and stuff with Grandpa, I distinctly remember it had to have been my junior year, because I remember I had the blue GMC and I bought that before my junior year in high school, and it was the next spring, and I know it was before Dad had broke his back, but I'd always pick Grandpa because he wasn't driving at that point. And so on the way home, I'd pick him up to take him home. And I stopped up to see Retha. Grandpa wasn't there. So I go down the garage. Grandpa's not there. I go back up. I was like, "Retha," and she's like, "Nope." So I go back down and I start walking towards the bakery. And in that field where Mickey's got the containers right now, I hear something. I go over and he's laid out on the ground. And I'm like, "Grandpa," he goes, no, just give me up. I was like, "Grandpa, what happened?" He said, "I think because he was diabetic. Yep. His blood sugar was off. He had passed out, hoping somebody was getting there." And so he's like, "Take me to the food center. I need to get a candy bar." Yeah. And I was like, "All right, whatever." I'm panicking. I said, "Do we need to go to the clinic?" No, I'll be fine. I just need a candy bar. And he goes, and so they go, "You can't tell your mom about this." "Yeah, sorry, Grandpa, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of things I've covered for you over the years. This isn't going to be one of them." He was mad at me that I was good. I told you about that. Like, "She doesn't need to know. It's fine. I just my blood sugar's like, no, she
needs to know.
You're passing out in a place where we don't know where you're at. She needs to know."
Well, and the reason he wasn't driving in those later years, because he had been back to Minnesota for Christmas and driving the pickup, whatever, and he put on the gas instead of the brakes and ran in the ditch and took down a tree. Well, he made the mistake. We picked him up from the ferry when he came, and he made the mistake of telling us at supper time. Well, Dave and I were going out on that same ferry to go down for a show. So we said, Dad's not allowed to drive.
Yep.
So Sarah had her license, but then she left a couple days later for a basketball trip. And so then you had to drive, you would drop him off, bring the truck to the store.
Yep. No, I always, Grandpa, I think, taught Sarah and I to drive.
Yep.
More than you and
Yep.
Dad did.
Yep.
Because he was like, he wanted somebody to drive him.
Right.
There was a vested interest from him, and I know Sarah's going to back me up on this, but it was always like, give a little more gas.
Yeah.
Give it a little more gas. Grandpa, I'm going the speed limit. Yeah, you can usually go 5 to 10 over. It'll be fine. Give it a little more gas. And so everyone, and you're a very good driver. You follow the rules. Dad, when he was in town, he would be at a crawl.
Yep.
It would seem like it'd take us 15 minutes to get the mile from our house down to the store, getting ready. It was like, Dad, I can walk. He was just so, and everyone's like, my God, your dad drives slow. It's like, yes, he does. Soon as you got across the border, he's that car. You'd see a car. It's like 2 miles. We need to pass him.
Yeah.
We need to pass him. And when Sarah and I were driving, I remember the one time we were going to Anchorage when Vincent was here from Switzerland. We're going to drop him off at the Anchorage airport, and Sarah and I were taking turns driving, and it was he made it a competition that okay, we passed this many cars. You need to pass them.
Yeah.
And we tell my friends, and they're like, yeah, your dad's not like that. I was like, yeah, my grandpa, Hub, and my dad are both like, if you're in town, you need to be careful. But as soon as you get out of town, hammer down. And so I was crazy because later, you guys are like, you guys are going too fast. You guys are going too fast. Like,
you had good teachers.
Who's teaching us to drive this way? Who's teaching us to drive this way? This is not our fault. But the one time that you guys got us, because you could see at that time where DeWitt's house is, that was our house, you guys could see down the road, partially, but Pat and Stan could see right down Allen Road.
Yep.
And Sarah and Ralph were dating. He had his big truck. I was in the Toyota Corolla at the time. I don't know why all three of us couldn't fit in the truck to go to open gym. I don't think Sarah wanted her little brother with her and her boyfriend, probably.
Probably.
So we go in different vehicles. We're going down there. And we're kind of fake racing going down the hill. Were we going really fast? No. We're going faster than we probably should? Yes. Get home. You and Dad sits us down. You guys are both there. So, you guys driving a little fast today, were you? And Sarah and I are like, the hell? There's no way they saw us. And we're like, what? Well, going a little fast. We're like, where did you hear that? Doesn't matter. Going a little fast. I don't think it was till 20 years later that Dad told us that it was Pat Jones. And this is after Pat had passed away. Like 10 or 15 years after Pat had passed, before he gave it up that's who. And from then on, anytime I was driving, I'm like,
who's watching?
Who's watching? It was extremely, extremely effective for my driving in town after that.
Well, remember, like you say, we could see down the road. When you were in kindergarten or first grade, we had wonderful snow conditions for sledder.
Runner sleds. It was just sheer ice going down the hill.
It was sheer ice.
Yeah.
So you would lay on top of Dad. Sarah would have her sled. I'd look out the window and see if there was any cars, and I'd say, go! And I could just watch you go. And every once you'd hit a piece of gravel, so I'd see a spark. So okay. And you'd make it downtown in just record time.
Oh, we were down by a DOT in no time at all. And then we'd hoof it up to Union, and then we'd sled down Fifth Avenue. We'd stop at Rita's, and we'd sled down the last little hill coming down to the store, because that one winter's perfect conditions.
Perfect conditions.
Yeah, we wouldn't even go to the end of the driveway. We started right in front of the house. We'd put, Dad would just say, give me a push.
Yep.
So Sarah would have to run, but I'd push him, and then I'd hop on his back, and down to school we went.
Yep.
But going uphill, and this is one, I've given you a bad time about this. I know you guys have heard this. Most other people haven't. This is my trauma, one of my early trauma stories. Sarah thinks everybody in my family thinks I'm overselling this, but this is my story.
Okay.
I'm sticking to it. We did not have, for the longest time, a vehicle that would make it up the hill if it was snow.
Wintertime.
In the wintertime.
Yep.
So we were walking back. a mile. It wasn't that big of a deal, walking back and forth. So a lot of times we'd pull our toboggans down or ride in the toboggans down, and then we'd pull them back up. Hardly any street lights on Allen Road at that time. I distinctly remember one time, there's two distinct instances. One of them, we're coming down the hill, and the snowpow's coming up, and we're right above Laphams, and I see that, and the snow seemed to me like over my waist. I can hardly move. And I see this plow coming up faster than I think I thought I was going to get run over by the plow. And you guys are just like, hurry up, better hurry up. I'm just going to get sucked away by the snow plow, and it's going to be end. My family doesn't even care. They just want me to hurry. They do not understand that they're all much taller than me at this moment. And the other one is going back up the hill. It's dark, it's night, and you guys, Sarah's much taller than I am. You and Dad, you guys are taller. You guys are just plowing your way up the hill. Nobody will let me ride in the sled and get a ride. I got to hike. In my mind, I'm hearing wolves howling in the distance. My family's just going to leave me in the dark to be eaten by the wolves in the wintertime because I can't get up the hill in this deep snow.
And I remember so many times, oh, look at Douglas, look at the shadow. I mean, trying to
get me up there.
Yeah.
And so now, anytime somebody complains I'm walking too fast, I'm like, go talk to my family.
And now I complain you're walking too fast.
This is like, they're the ones that are like, keep up, keep up. So.
I remember one time you were riding your bike up the hill, and we came along with the pickup, and you grabbed the handle, and we're just riding. Well, unfortunately, there was a policeman living along there, and he came along and said, no.
Do you want to know where I learned that from?
My dad?
No, Stan Jones.
Oh!
Stan, there's a couple times when I was a kid, I'm riding my bike up the hill, and it was towards afternoon. He's done with the clinic. Yeah. He's coming up, and he'd pull up, and he's like, you need a ride? I was like, I don't know. I said, no, I can get it. I don't need to put it in the back. He says, no, just grab onto the mirror or grab onto the side. And so I have him going up the hill. And I should ask him this sometime because I don't know if he was looking for business for the clinic.
Yeah.
Or he was trying to help me get to the top of the hill. There was more than once that, I hitched a ride with Stan going up the hill. Mm-hmm. And so, when you guys came along, I was like, this must be a thing. This is what Stan does.
This is what we do. Yeah.
Let's grab a hold and away we go. Mm-hmm. So now we're back. We've traded some good stories here.
Yep.
But was it 78 or 79 that the mill shut down? The two sawmills shut down in Haines.
I don't remember.
Because I'm trying to figure out when it was that Dad first got it in. They first had that Haines Independent Businessmen's meeting, and he got the idea for the American Ball Legal Foundation.
Well, yeah, because when the mill shut down, we thought, okay, we're losing 200 and some jobs. Mm-hmm. You know, all the equipment has left town. What are we going to? Is Haines going to survive? So Dave and Duck Hess and John Hollowell and several others got together and said, let's sort of have a town meeting and discuss, see what Haines has to offer that we can make money on. And we had lots of dinners and meetings and so forth, and divide up into smaller groups and decided, okay, you take this. And Bruce Gilbert had outdoor recreation, and he wanted to build an ice rink up there, 26 Mile. Yeah. And I don't know, for some reason they said, well, we got lots of eagles. Can we capitalize on that? And for some reason, Dave got selected to deal with eagles. Yeah. And so then he got the bright idea that, well, it's coming up with the centennial.
Because the bicentennial of the Eagles national syndicate was 1982.
Yep.
And so he was going to have a commemorative rifle for that.
Commemorative rifle.
He's told me numerous times about, trying to get the funding and everything like that. You've never really shared your thoughts during that time. He's flying back. He's going to make 3,000 guns.
Which is what the minimum was.
The minimum was 3,000. You're basically putting everything you own on the line to make this happen. Everybody's telling him, don't do it. It's not a good idea. What was going through your head at that time? I'm guessing you were probably like, at one point you were trying to slow him down. I was like, Dave, is this a good idea?
Well, your father, but then slow him down.
Yeah, there's no. I've seen this since then at older stages. I've seen how this process goes, where he gets an idea, and you're like, David, I don't think that's the best idea. I think we do, and he just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and he makes it happen.
Yeah. And
But
see,
you're at home. You've got two kids. You've got this business going, and he's like,
and we
"Oh, let's
weren't-
just put it all on the line and
we
make
were
some
doing
guns."
that well, and we were already helping finance several boats because when the mill shut, we helped
Yeah.
finance several people to get boats and permits.
At one time, wasn't it 5 or 6 boats that
Yeah.
you guys owned that
Yeah.
were and
Yeah.
helping people with
Yeah.
buy them?
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so then he wants to build 3,000 rifles.
Yeah. And so Hans Fluler provided a lot of the money, but Dave had to come up with a letter of credit, I think, for $500,000 or whatever. And okay, where are we going to get it? He went to the bank here, and they said, "Yeah, no, this is Haines,
Yeah.
Alaska." No, I don't think so. I said, "Okay, what do I do?" And so he just sat back in the office, just fretting and fuming and calling different people. And he finally said, "Well, may as well go for Shooter Supply. They've been, and would you be interested?" And they did. And so they took half the guns.
Took out. Yeah.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
But when they delivered the 1,500 guns up here, it was
That still boggles my mind that we unloaded
1,500
1,500 guns at one shipment.
and there were seven locks on the back of the
Container.
container with 7 people there to unlock. Because
Really?
yes, because they weren't going to. That was too valuable a cargo to just
Yeah.
trust with. Because we had guns stolen off the freight before.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know
remember
that.
one time a Smith and Wesson went missing, and
Yeah.
well, it got lost along the way, and so they weren't going to let 1,500 guns go.
Well, wise on their part.
Yeah.
But what was that a little nerve wracking for you as
yeah.
he's going down
Yeah.
this? Like,
Yeah.
what are we thinking here?
But you just go with the flow and hope it works out.
Because at the time, I mean, I remember he had his notebook, and he was pretty much anybody that came in before they were even made.
Okay.
You want one?
Yeah.
You want one?
Oh,
I can get you this
Yep.
number.
Yep.
I can get you this number.
Yep.
I can get you this number, and you can get a match set. You can, and all the stuff that he was constantly talking about it, and he had all these names, and he's like, oh, then a name would be scratched out because then they're like, oh no, I can't do that. And
when he was talking about building the gun, this one guy said, stupidest idea he'd ever heard. Well, then when the prototype came and Dave had it in the counter, the guy was bringing his relatives, company, and said, "See what's being made from Haines."
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that was some trying times, but we made it.
because they didn't sell all right away either.
No.
It took a while to sell all of
Took
those.
a long time.
Took a
to
long
sell
time
all
to sell all of them.
because shortly after they were produced, the
Oh, the collectible gun
rifle
bar just collapsed.
yeah.
Yeah, up until then,
Yeah.
they were pretty much a guaranteed sale on it.
Mhm.
But right
Yeah,
after that,
yeah.
and because that was if I remember correctly from him talking about it, that was the first Winchester commemorative that had kind of been made by that wasn't Winchester.
Yeah.
That a private party's commissioned it and said, listen, we want to do a commemorative rifle. This is what we want to do.
Yep.
And that was kind of
Yeah.
the first. And I remember because of that rifle, you guys went back to Chicago, and he got, I forget what
Small Businessman of the Year. Or
small
something.
business
Yeah.
award or whatever.
Yeah.
But you were showing us, you gave me the brochure
Yeah.
recently
Yeah.
that you'd found some when you're cleaning out the house. And it cracked me up because Walmart got an award at that same one. There was another one that was like Dick's Sporting Goods or something. That was before they were the Dick's Sporting Goods they are now. But it's kind of, there's like, yeah, Walmart, Alaska Sports. I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
What the? They were in a different class that they got it and everything, but still reading that program, I was like, damn, Dad, way to go.
But very few people knew that we got the award.
Still over there in the office.
No, it's at my house.
Oh, you got it? You brought it home?
Yep. Dave wanted it home.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anyone in town have one of the guns?
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah. Do you want
Several.
one? I can, there's still a couple available. But yeah, there several people in town bought them, Marty.
Yeah.
Our family has a couple of them, but yeah. And so, and then fast forward in 2012, actually they didn't come out till 2013. I worked with Winchester to come up with a 30th anniversary of it. And Dad was ticked because I only had to do like 200 guns
Right,
total
yeah.
or something like that. He's like, what the heck? I had to do 3,000. I was like, well, I'm better at negotiating than you are, apparently, Dad.
But he always kept rubbing in. He said, "I sold 1,500 guns in one day."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
When he
Yes.
sold
I
the
never
gun.
got over that. He always told me that one sale, one day,
Yeah.
1,500 guns.
Yeah.
And he was always asking if I was going to top that.
Right,
And
yeah.
yeah, I never came
Yeah,
close.
you're right, yeah.
Never came close.
And you don't want to.
And I don't, I mean,
Oh, well, it'd be nice, but
if the circumstances are right,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you know, the risk reward on guns these days, yeah, buying 1,500 and selling them, no, don't need to do that. Yep. So that was 82 that the guns come out.
Mhm.
So then things keep kind of progressing, because then like in 84 we put in Sears moves out in 83 or 84, put in hardware in that section where
Yeah,
Sears
yeah.
was, kind of changing it up
Yeah.
again and going down that direction, and everything seems to be moving fairly decent, right? You can correct me if I missed anything, until October of 87. And Dad breaks his back building the ball.
Yep.
Well, during this time, since he sold the gun, he couldn't just like not do anything for a while. So he decides to build the American Bald Eagle Foundation Museum. And so in 87, and I think he even started in 85 or 86 when they cleared the ground.
Cleared it and so forth.
And then,
and what he was doing too, your dad was a salesman. I mean, he could talk you to death.
well, yeah, he just keep talking until you do it just to shut him up.
But he came up with the idea if he could get, I think it was 200 people to pledge $1,000.
Yeah.
That would basically pay for the materials, and they'd use volunteer labor. And he knew most of the people in town didn't have $1,000.
Yeah.
But you could pay $200 a year for 5 years.
Okay.
And so some did pay $1,000 up front, and some just paid the 200, and some didn't pay anything after that. But anyway, it was a good idea. But yeah, then he breaks his back.
Before we get into the breaking of the back, one of the things that drove me crazy with Dad is he's at this one of many, but he was at the store all the time. And as soon as I got a driver's license, it was in the summertime, and he's like, "We're going to work at the center tonight." It's like, "Well, no, I was going to do this." "Nope, we're going to go over there and work at the center." And a lot of times it'd be you, Sarah, and I, and Dad. Sometimes you'd find somebody else, but he'd quite often, if there's a bigger project or something, he's like, "I need X number of people for tonight. These are some names. Go see if you can get them." So I'm driving around town calling in favors. It got to the point that people did not want to see me at all, because they knew I was going to want them to go volunteer when they had no desire to volunteer over there at all. It's like, that really isn't that fair, Dad. Have me go to, "Well, I don't have time. I need this many people." I'm like, come on.
Okay, yeah.
So, but in 87, it was moving along really well. And so the main exhibit area, they got 3 walls up, trying to get the 4th one up. October 14th, wall, don't have enough guys to quite get it up, comes back, he gets caught underneath it, bent in half, head to his knees, crushes one vertebrae, half a vertebrae on the other, on each side, gets medevac to Juneau. I'm in Juneau. I still remember, because you had called. We were staying at McFeeder's house, and finding out, you were telling me that he was there. I was down there for a college fair.
Yep.
And you said, "Go to the college fair, and then they'll drop you by the hospital." I don't know why I went to the college. I don't even remember being at the college fair. I got nothing out of going to the college fair out of there, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But walking into the hospital and first seeing you and the expression on your face, and then walking in there and seeing Dad with all these tubes, that was a whole new world. It took, I think it was instantaneous, but it also took a little bit. That things are really different right now.
Things are changing.
Things changed rapidly in a huge way.
In a huge way.
Where you noticed, I could tell in your face, you knew, thinking back at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're trying to keep things together for me, but I could tell, it's like, this is something different.
But what was interesting, they let you on the plane the next morning to say goodbye.
Yeah. So we're at the hospital. Dad's all drugged up, and he's kind of saying a little bit. I don't even remember what he said, but he was able to talk a little bit. And I go back to McFeeder's and go out to the airport the next morning. And that I have no idea why this thing. I think I've told this story before, but leaving McFeeder's house, and I didn't want to wake anybody up. And first of all, you're not supposed to drive cars when you're traveling
Yeah.
for school.
For school.
And that day we had Steve McFeeder's. He's like, bring me to work, and then you guys have the car. And it goes me and Benton Bruce and Mike Flegel and Kurt Heinrich. So he wasn't really worried that we're going to get in a lot of
Right.
trouble. But he's like, I got back to the house that night, and he's like, Doug, what do you need? And I said, well, he goes, just take the car. So I didn't want to wake anybody up. So I back out of the garage. This is the first time I've driven this car at night. I have no idea how to turn on the headlights. And so I'm trying to get to the airport and trying to turn on the headlights. It wasn't until I got to the bottom of the hill I figured out where the headlights were at. But yeah, get to the airport, go through. At that time, it was just the X-ray machine.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do anything else. You didn't have to have a boarding pass or anything. And get through that, wearing my Letterman's jacket, and get to the jetway, and they're like, where's your boarding pass? I was like, my dad's on the medevac on there. They said I could come. And like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go ahead and walk on
Right.
the plane. But that was the part, and I think Bill was one that I shared this with when we were talking about that, because he helped Dad get home because he was in the Juneau airport when Dad came back that first time. But the flight attendants were great.
Yeah. Oh,
thrilled
awesome.
because no
Oxygen.
smoking,
Yep.
because he was on oxygen.
Yep.
But you go back and they had like 3 layers of seats just
I had to
laid
buy
flat.
9 seats. I had to buy 9 seats.
9 seats. And
'Cause
so
they
it
had
was
the 3 rows.
3 rows
Yeah.
because he's strapped down on,
Yeah.
on these seats, and there's people all around. I'm like, I can't even, thinking back at it now, we got Life Flight and
Yep.
Airlift Northwest and everything.
And when the flight attendants were making their announcement, getting everybody ready for the flight, they said, and as you realize, we have someone on oxygen. So if you feel you need to smoke, just step outside.
Just perfect. But the thing on that I don't know if it's because I didn't have a bag with me or anything, or it's my Letterman's jacket, but the look from the passengers as I was walking back, that pity
Yep.
or whatever, that's the hospital was one thing. Seeing that morning, oh man, this is even worse than I thought.
Yep.
This is worse than I thought. And so I think that day, I don't know if we flew home. I think we flew home. And the next day going to school, the rule when you traveled was you always had to have your lessons done when you got
Yep.
back.
Yep.
And Harold Morton was one of the most strict on that. And it ticked me off because when I got back, he had said, Doug, it's all right if you don't have yours. And that, I was like, hell no, I got my homework. Why wouldn't I have my homework? And I understand why he did that.
Yeah.
And that was amazing that he was doing. But in that moment, I was pissed. I was like, this is the rule. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have your homework.
Yeah.
And you're saying that I don't need to have my homework in that instance.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was. And then.
Well, and then I was so worried because here you were going to be staying at home, and you were the kid that I had to call 5 times to get up in the morning. And I thought, you're never going to be at school on time.
I was late once.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the office, and I was like, man, I slept in. I was like,
Yeah.
but I said, I'm supposed to have a note, but I don't have anybody.
You're right.
to write the
You're
note.
right, the note.
And I think it was it Mrs. McBride? That was
Okay,
in it?
yeah.
I think she's like, Doug, write a note explaining it and sign it. And I'm like, I can do that?
Yeah.
And she goes, today you can. And so I wrote a note. I said, I apologize that I'm late.
Yeah.
I slept in, signed it, Doug. Here you go. She goes, okay, go to class. But I think it was I can't remember if it was the first day I got home or the second day that I talked to you the night before, and you said you need to go you told me you have to go to the bank tomorrow to meet Dick Flegel because you didn't know how long you were going to be in Seattle. You needed somebody to be, because you and Dad were the only signers on the checking account.
Yeah.
And so I go to the bank and go in there, and again, everybody's looking at you. It's like, I hate that
Yeah.
look. I understand it,
Yep.
but it drove me crazy. So we go into his office at the old bank. This is
Yep.
before they
Yeah.
hadn't moved into
No,
the new
hadn't
one yet.
moved- No.
Hadn't moved into the new bank yet. And so in the old bank, his office in the back, and he sits down, and I thought just go in, sign some stuff. I got to get lunch. I got to get back, check on the store, get back to class. So how things going? He starts on just his whole thing. And finally I was like, do we need, yeah, he says, we're not supposed to do this. Bank regulations. He started talking about your parents should be here. We have to do this. He says, but under the circumstances, I need you to sign here. I need you. So I signed the paperwork, and he's like, okay, see you later. And done. I was able to
sign the checks.
I could have signed that.
Yeah.
I could have signed whatever I wanted over to myself if I wanted to. But yeah, so that was middle of October. You came home for like a week.
Yep.
Beginning November, sometime in November.
Just to see what things were doing, just get my mind and trying to figure out insurance forms. I was just, I just had to get my life kind of back. But Dave was so worried I wasn't going to come back.
Well, and rightfully so, because I remember being in Harborview, because I think the first time that I think I saw Dad in the hospital, we went down for Thanksgiving. It was the only time that I was in Harborview. In the spring, I went back down when he had his second surgery, but for that first one, it was over Thanksgiving. And I remember having a discussion. I don't know if the doctors were telling us then, or if you guys were telling us what the doctors had said, that like 98% of people in that situation get divorced.
Yep.
And they were telling you guys the best thing that you can do for financial and everything like that is to get divorced.
Yep.
And that just hit me at that point in time of why?
Yeah.
Why would they suggest somebody get a divorce? And then watching the next 38 years of the amount of effort you put in and taking care of Dad, I understand why that would happen. There's not a lot of people that would do what you did and give up so much. You were 45 years old when Dad broke his back, right?
Yep.
So for 38 years, you're in the prime of your life at 45. And that, you guys, I know you guys had a lot of plans because I was going to graduate the next spring.
And we were going to Africa.
You guys were going to go to Africa. Dad had these hunting trips he was going to go on. You guys were going to do a bunch of traveling. And goodbye.
Yep.
That's all gone.
Yep.
But you stayed for 38 years.
You do that.
You do that. Not everybody does. And I think that's what so many people admire about you is, first of all, you're an amazingly sweet lady. But you work hard. But they see that dedication you had to your husband. I know there's a ton of people that admired you before that. But that is so rare.
No. But I don't want to go through it again.
Right. No. Nobody does.
Well, and the sad part was our insurance ran out for physical therapy.
Yeah.
And so we left after about 8 weeks, and they said, don't tell anyone. No one leaves after 8 weeks after breaking their back.
Yeah, because you only had like 3 or 4 days for the insurance policy. Wasn't it like 4 days or something of rehab?
Oh,
And they said it was supposed to be like 2 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we came home, and he had just gone off his pain cocktails. We didn't know what the pills were going to do. And he was in so much pain. We had this hotel room out by the airport. And I learned then that you don't have a thick carpet with wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And, he had a miserable flight home. It was miserable. But then he had to go back in January.
I thought it was February or March. I think it was a little later.
Okay. But anyway, we went back the next spring, next year to get more physical therapy. Well, then when they were teaching him how to get up over curbs, he kept having this awful pain. They said, you shouldn't have that. So they did an x-ray or an MRI or something. There was a bone spur in there. So then he had to have another major surgery. Then we had to go back in October for the rods to be taken out. So that was the third major surgery in a year.
Yeah, the third one, I was at UW then, and so I was able to stop by the hospital and come and visit. And I remember in the March one, I think it was I remember you guys being there in March because I think that's because
We went to look at colleges.
we went to look at colleges.
Yep.
We went to UW and then
Yep.
we went to USC and
Yep.
ASU.
Yep.
I came down and grabbed you and
Yep.
we went
Yep.
and did a quick
Yep.
tour. And
Yep.
but yeah, I still remember when it came for Thanksgiving. We played because at that time basketball started at the end of October, beginning of November, and the weekend before Thanksgiving we were playing in Wrangell. And so since I was coming down, you gave me a list of stuff you wanted to bring down. So I get off the ferry in Wrangell and I've got my book bag and I've got these 2 big duffel bags. And one of the kids that's arranging the housing that was on the basketball team is like, geez, something of the fact that you don't travel light, do you?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, my dad's in the hospital in Seattle. I'm bringing stuff. And he just kind of looks like, oh crap, I just said the wrong thing. But it was like, he didn't know. And I was probably more blunt than I needed to be because I was kind of stressed out at the moment. But yeah, hauling all that stuff down. And then I got home on Friday because I had Thanksgiving. I think I flew Friday morning out of Seattle and got home that afternoon. And I'm quite sure I played that weekend. And there's a couple teachers ticked off because I hadn't turned in my homework from the Wrangell trip.
Oh.
And they didn't think I should be eligible to play. And I'm like, well, I haven't gotten back to school yet.
Yeah, right.
I haven't gotten back to school yet. So the homework's done if you want it. It's in the backpack. I can give it to you now, but I haven't had an opportunity because it was on break. But yeah, we were playing Friday after Thanksgiving, playing basketball games. But that was a weird senior year.
Yes. It was a bad senior year for you, and I apologize for that.
Well, no, don't apologize because it was, I wouldn't say it was a bad one. It was just a very unconventional one.
Yes.
And
very learning experience other than high school.
I grew up much quicker than
Yes.
probably I normally would have due to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's all that makes you who you are today.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was, and that was one of the things too, is Dad coming back. We're talking pretty much every night on the phone. And shortly before he came back, such and such is going to be there tomorrow to do this. Such and such is going to be there tomorrow. So when he got back, there's the guys from the farm, Steve Amish and them. They had the ramps built. They had they'd gotten the galvanized pipe. They had a thing for that was
So he could practice
so
walking.
he could practice walking with his steel braces and everything in the living room. And yeah, they had things other than the bedroom situation at the time was next to impossible to get a wheelchair back there with the narrow halls and the because you guys' room was upstairs and we didn't have a way to get him up there. But
and that's why we decided, we could either put an elevator in at $80,000, which would have no resale value later on, or just build another house.
Yeah, I like the building there. With the way that house was set up, there would have been so much wasted space there with
terrible.
Dad being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
That
It would not be been
would not have worked
functional.
well at all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So you're this still boggles my mind thinking about 45 years old. You're going through this traumatic experience. What was going through your mind at that time? Because at the time we had no idea how long Dad was
gonna live.
Really?
I mean,
honestly, because the doctors told us that this
Yeah.
is something that really affects somebody, and we don't know what that's gonna be. Did you and him talk about? I know there's times it was just one day at a time.
One day at a time. Yep. And you just do what you have to do and just keep on living.
But your recollection, you were here more than I was because after he got home, I was here that summer and I was at college.
Yep.
But I want to say, with my recollection, it was like 2 years minimum that he did not have the best outlook.
No.
That it
No.
was.
It was really hard.
It was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was even more difficult for you. Because
Well,
he was probably sharing stuff with you that, the things he shared with Sarah and I about the pain that he was in and how he didn't want to be in pain. I'm sure he probably shared more with you than he did with us, but what he was sharing with us was enough that was like, holy
Okay.
cow,
Yeah.
how is this going to work?
Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't want to take pain pills because they told him if he took too much Tylenol or whatever, that it would affect his liver or kidneys and he'd lose that. And so he said,
Mhm.
okay. So he had the TV on and he would just focus on, as long as he had something to focus on. And sometimes he'd be just grimacing at pace. Okay, just a minute, just a minute. I just got to focus on something. Just got to focus on something, to get his mind off the pain, to get it. Yeah.
And there were those tells
Oh, yeah.
up until the end
Mhm.
that you could see him sitting there and you're like, oh, he's in a lot of pain right now.
Yep.
Just the way he would hold his body or whatever.
Mhm.
It was.
Mhm. Yep.
I, s- I, I know there's ways I've told you this before, and I just don't know how to say it eloquently enough. I guess of just what an amazing role model you have been for not only since the accident but before that. It was just no matter what was going on, you're just
I just figured
you're just happy, and
I-
it's
I
like, you know
needed
what,
to
this is what we're
do-
gonna go.
do what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt that I don't like being around crabby people, so I decided I wouldn't be a crabby person.
Just in case others didn't want to be crabby
Crabby.
people either. Okay. We might come back to that, but we'll leave
Well, can I tell a story on you?
be ready to cut this, Marty. We might go ahead.
I don't remember what grade you were in, but you were traveling someplace at basketball, and you called one night to tell us, and he said, how you and Dad always told us that we should be nice to the people that we stay with. He said, well, I just broke my host's son's leg.
Yes. So that was my sophomore year. I think we'd played in Metlakatla, and then we were playing Ketchikan JVs on the way back, or we were just playing Ketchikan. We're in Ketchikan for 2 games, and I remember grabbing a rebound right about the free throw line, and I just turned and I was like, "There's not going to be anybody behind me. I'm going to get a layup." Turned around, ran right over this kid from Ketchikan, and he was on the ground. We got timeout, take him off the court, and everything. We hadn't met anybody yet because we just got there, played the game. So the lady, we meet our housing lady afterwards, and she says, "I'll take you home, but we got to make a stop first." He's like, "Okay." She goes, "Yeah, I need to stop at the hospital." And we're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" She goes, "Well, my son broke his leg in the game." And I'm like, "Oh, crap. That was me that broke your son's leg." She goes, "Yeah, I know." And so at the hospital, she checks on her son. He was staying with his dad. They were split.
Okay.
So he was staying with his dad. So I never met him. But I'm like, oh, crap. So I tell you that's not a good way to make a first impression at the house. She was absolutely amazing person. She treated us very well. So further the story, senior year, regionals is in Ketchikan. So I'm down there, and we've got, I think I can't remember who I was getting housed with, but I think it was a girl that was on the K Highlights dance team. And so we were going on the way back or to one of the games, and it was her and her mom and me and whoever else from the Haines basketball team was on the trip. And I asked them, I said, "So your guys' is starting point guard for the boys. Did he break his leg a couple years ago?" And they're like, "Yeah, how'd you know that?" I was like, "I was the one that broke his leg." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "It wasn't on purpose.
It wasn't on purpose.
I didn't do it on purpose, but I was the one." They're like, "Oh my God, how did you?" I was like, "It was a mistake. I just turned and ran." And yeah, they thought. And so that was the same regionals. The day before we get there, we've got our practice early in the morning. We walk in, and the hallways are flooded. There's all this water in the hallway, and we're like, "What the heck?" And they had the exposed sprinkler heads, and they had a deal where they take the lockers. It wasn't built in. You just have the padlocks, and people would, if you left it unlocked, they take it and put it on there, and somebody went to grab theirs off of there. set off the sprinkler. So there's water running down the hallways. And then we're in there, RV is running our practice, and all of a sudden all these students start coming in and filling in up above. And a guy comes in and he's talking to RV, and RV, you see him nodding over there, and comes up, huddles us all around. He goes, so just so you guys know, somebody phoned in a bomb scare to the school. So they've already checked the gym. We're safe, but they're bringing everybody else in here while they check the rest of the school to make sure there's no. We're in a high school. What do you mean there's a bomb scare? The heck is this going on? And so one of my proudest moments of playing basketball, we finished practice. I was supposed to shoot free throws in the free throw competition on Saturday. Everybody's shooting at one end. RV takes me down to the other end and wants me to practice free throws. So I'm shooting, I'm making 2 or 3, miss, make 2 or 3. And so the catch can students that are in there, they start counting.
Oh.
Which was actually beneficial to me, because I don't know if you remember when Sarah and Dad and I would shoot free throws. Dad was always making us shoot free throws.
Yeah.
And you had to count 1, 2 out of 2, 3 out of 3, 4 out of 4. You'd have to count. That was the whole thing. So the whole time, every time I'm shooting free throws, I'm always counting in my head, 1 out of 1, 2 out of 2. I always know how many I've made and how many I've missed. And so they start counting. I'm like, I don't have to do that now.
Yeah.
And so I was shooting it, and I got 25 in a row, and then I missed. And there's like, oh, you hear this groan from them that they're all ticked that I missed. And one of the coaches, I can't remember where he's from, he came over after practice. He goes, that was pretty impressive. I'm like, no, it's just practice. It didn't mean anything. Saturday's winning it.
Yeah.
And so Saturday I missed like my 7th, and I was like, well, this is over with. So I only made like 10 or 11 out of 25 during the practice. Like I said, I should have saved some of those.
Yeah,
from
right.
there. But yeah.
Well, that was also the trip where you lost a contact, because you called me and said, Mom.
Yeah, first game,
Yeah.
we played at Edgecombe the weekend before, and we went directly from Edgecombe down there. I thought I played pretty well in Edgecombe, had a lot of confidence. First quarter, lose the contact.
Mm-hmm.
I never lost contacts. I never had any spares.
Yeah.
They'd last me for several months at the time. Never had a spare. And so, yeah, they had to, you talked to the
Gold
optometrists in Juneau. They gold streaked it down. I had to go over to I think one of the, I can't remember if a coach went with me. I don't know if Ron Smith, I think was our JV coach, that we go over to, we had to take the Gravine Islet ferry across to the airport to go pick up the small little package so I'd have contacts for the game the next day so I could see. Because I was down to one contact and everything was all, I could play defense all right, but I couldn't tell where the basket was or anything. It was all, yeah, that was not a fun trip. No. Other than making 25 in a row while the catch can student body counted them off for me. So going back, we're gonna go back a ways.
Okay.
Actually, before we do that, let's take a break for a second.
Okay. Yep.
All right, we're back, Mom.
Okay.
So I want to backtrack a little bit, because one of the things that I think is really cool with you is you were a home ec teacher. You did it for 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then you quit to raise your kids. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you ever stopped being a home ec teacher. Because not only Sarah and I, we were your students while you had us in the house, because we learned to cook and sew and knit and quilt, any of that stuff. But then the number of kids growing up over the years that have come up that their moms or whatever is like, hey, my kid wants to learn to sew, or she wants to learn to bake. The imprint I think you've had on a lot of kids later on.
I think
there's a lot there.
I think you should share your knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, and if you ask, I will help you.
Yeah. But I think that's been a really cool thing, that you have that knowledge, you were trained in that. That was kind of something you gave up, but in a way you never really did. Because even now if somebody comes up, all your grandchildren were in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you're going to have grandchildren in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Great grandchildren, yeah. They're going to be in the kitchen learning how to do that.
And that's what makes memories. That's what makes memories.
Well, in the times that I go up there, like when we're making lefts at Christmas and stuff like that, I can see how much that means to you. That and I think some of it, at least for LEFSA too, I think it's the holidays. You've got everybody kind of working together on it. but other times when I've been up there and you've had young ladies that are learning to sew and they're in the just that giving that knowledge and sharing that and creating those memories with somebody else, that's a big part for you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's not just at the store. And this is the other thing is you love to bake.
Yes, I do.
I think everybody knows that. And especially anybody that works for us
Yeah.
knows that you love to bake, as well as Deanna and Diana. That there's always some very, very nice treats over there.
Yeah.
That,
Well, we like to share. And now living alone, there's no way I can eat a batch of cookies. I mean, well, I probably could, but I shouldn't. So, and I like fresh cookies. So you may as well bring them down to the store so everybody can have some.
and speaking of cookies, I've given you a bad time about this numerous times over the years. I still remember in the office, this was probably 15, 18 years ago. And I was telling you at that time that I was trying to get in better shape. I was trying to make better, asking you, it's like, how can I cook healthier? What are the things I can do? And you were giving me some great advice. And the next morning, working at the store, go back into the office, and there's a big bag, there's like a half of a gallon bag of chocolate chip cookies sitting on my desk. And I know they're yours. I was like, Mother, why is it? You're like, your dad and I can't eat them all. You need to eat some. Did you not remember what I was just talking about yesterday? And so since then, anytime that I'm trying to eat better, my one thing is I cut out sugar unless it's made by somebody I know.
Yeah.
So if you or Deanne or Diane or Sarah, Kaylee, anybody's making cookies or cake or something like that, Doug, you want some? I'm never saying no to that.
No.
But store-bought stuff, I will say no to that. That's kind of that's the Doug diet for anybody that wants to try it.
Well, when it came to quilting, when we first started doing more quilting in town here, if people had questions, I say, ask Dave. Because Dave had made many more quilts than I had.
That's right. He used to, when he was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
He
On the
would make
winter
the quilts.
nights, with nothing to do, hey,
Yeah.
you're going to be doing something. So we still have a couple of his quilts. One of them, it's called a friendship quilt, where his friends wrote in the blank spot, and then he embroidered their names on their names.
What?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I'll show it to
I
you.
remember because you've got the
yellow one or whatever.
well,
Yeah.
but then you've also got the kitchen towels and stuff that have
Yep.
the embroidery
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
That for the longest time, I thought you had did that. And you're
No,
like, yeah, no,
no.
that was your dad.
No,
I
yeah.
was like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, he had, and they would have a frame hanging from the living room ceiling, and then they just bring it down to quilt and tie the quilts and so
Nice.
forth. Yeah.
And a lot of those were on
Oh,
the
feed-
towels and stuff. Weren't those like flour sacks or something too?
Feed sacks,
Feed
flour
sacks and stuff. That
Yep,
was the
yep.
the fabric. And
I remember my mother going to get chicken feed, and she'd say, well, I want that bag and that bag and that bag, because it was all the same print. And she did 3 bags to make us a skirt or something.
Skirt.
Or a dress. And heaven forbid if it got ripped on the way home.
Yeah. Because I was this last weekend I was moving stuff, and in that trunk there's like 4 different. Some of them were smaller and
Yep.
stuff, but they're quilts that you had made. One of them was from Grandma Vivian,
Yep.
but that I'd put away because I wasn't using because they're getting frayed on
Yes.
the edges. And I learned my lesson from when I was younger because I had my baby blanket
Yep, from Grandma Vivian.
from Grandma Vivian,
Hand embroidered. Oh,
and one day it went missing.
yep.
And I was in absolute agony and tears that my blanket was missing. And you would not it was, I think it was probably 12, 13 years later. I think you brought it out to show somebody, and I was shocked. I thought this thing was lost forever. And you pull this out and like, this was Doug's baby. I'm like, wait a second. My mother has been lying to me all these years. But you look at
It
the
was-
rags
I
and
was so afraid. And I've shown it to several really expert quilters. I said, what can I do with it? And they go, well, you wore it to death. Same with Sarah's. But that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what
with
you're
it.
supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
wear
You're
it
supposed
out.
to use them. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're supposed to use them. Yeah, when I give someone a quilt, they say, "Oh, I don't have a space to hang on the wall. I said, it's not just hang on the wall. Put it on your bed or on your couch.
Yeah,
Use it.
use it.
That's what it's for.
Yeah. Yeah. So what with quilting, what is it that is that just a relaxation thing for you?
Yep.
Or is it just more about, is it the creative aspect of it?
It's relaxing. It's fun to create something different and see if I can get the colors right. Sometimes I have to have help. See if I can make something halfway beautiful.
I still feel bad. The one time you had that quilt and you had it all done and you asked me to come look at it, and I asked you, why are those pieces out of line from the rest of it? I thought you did it on purpose. And you had everything and you're like, oh crap. Like, oh Doug, don't say that.
Well, a couple times I've asked you
Now
to
you've
come
after
over.
that
Yeah.
you've asked me to come
Yeah,
over to look at
because
the
you
patterns.
have the vision to see, oh, okay, yeah, that should be that way or whatever. Yeah.
I'm sorry I did that
That's
to
okay.
you.
So now I'm trying to weed down my fabric stash. But I know the next time I go to a fabric store, I'll buy some more fabric.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I don't think that's ever happened that you've gone to do it. When we went to New Zealand, you bought fabric. You bought fabric in New Zealand. That was one of the places we
Yep.
had to stop. Was a
Yep.
fabric
Yep.
store,
Yep.
and
And I was very disappointed because it wasn't as big a fabric store as I wanted to see.
but you still found something.
I still
you
found
liked.
something.
Have you done anything with that yet?
No. I haven't figured out what to do with it yet.
About a week and a half after Dad passed, I remember you came over to the store here and you're talking to me about, you felt a little unsettled because you had all this free time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, you've been Dad's caregiver for 38 years. I would imagine you've got a lot of free time. And I told you, I hope you find something fun to do. Have you found something fun to do? I mean, everybody gives Sarah and I a bad time. They're like, how come you guys are making your mother work?
You're right.
You guys are always having your mom come down. And both of us, our answer is always going to be the same. It's like, do you honestly think we're making our mother do anything? She does whatever the heck she wants to. There's none of us making us do anything. We've told her to stay home, and she shows up. There's nothing we can do.
And people say, what days do you work? And I said, well, practically every day, but I come and go when I want. And so that's the beauty of being retired. You can work when you want, how long you want. I haven't really found any fun things. I mean, I read more. I do more puzzles. I'm sewing more. And I'm just
So with sewing more, are you making a dent in your fabric?
not really.
Not really?
I just finished 3 quilts, and I've got the binding on 2 of them, and so I'll be glad to just have those projects finished, and I can move on to something else. I've got another one on the wall that I'm working on. Yeah, I've got several others in the making, in the head.
In the head?
And I'd like to do a little bit more traveling someday. Probably.
Mm.
Yeah. But I'm happy where I am.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think part of that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you and Dad built a home here.
mhm.
You were welcomed by people in Haines, and your original intentions will stay for a year and see what
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
And that's going to be what, 63 years,
62 years.
62 years in July. August.
Yeah.
62 years. So that 1 year kind of apparently
Yeah.
turned out fairly well.
Well, and every once in a while, Dad would say, I think we should move. And I said, okay, tell me where and what are you going to do? And he could never come up with an answer.
I have the same problem. I don't know where or what else I would do.
Yeah. I still haven't figured out what I want to be when I grow up. What I want to do.
But looking at that, when I talk about building a family, it's not only other people in the community, but both your kids are here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Grandkids are here.
You've got grandkids here. You've got
Great
a third one
grandkids.
coming in. You've got 2 great grandkids here. A third
Mhm.
going to be coming here shortly for great grandkids.
So I get to take them to story hour. I
Well,
can,
and that's the thing with the grandkids. When the grandkids started showing up, everybody saw you out with the strollers,
Mhm.
taking them wherever you're going, and you're doing the story hour. You're doing all the stuff with the grandkids, and now you got the great grandkids. You're doing the same stuff with.
Mhm. Mhm.
How special is that?
It's very special, very special. I remember one time I went into the bank and my sister-in-law Leslie was a magistrate.
Hmm.
And so her noon hour would go for walks. And I'd take Tyler, Justin, whoever was there, and would walk, solve the world's problems and walk during this hour. And so one day when I went in the bank, this gal said, it was wintertime. And this gal said, my son was home from school yesterday, and he said, I saw two crazy ladies pushing this stroller through the snow. And she said, oh, I know who that was.
I know those crazy ladies. We can put a name to them.
Yeah. So.
Do you think that helps keep you young and keep you active? Just kind of trying to chase them around?
Yep. And it helps me to go to the store because I get in steps. I don't like to just walk on a treadmill. To me, that's the most boring thing ever. But if I can walk my hill, if I can walk the dock, if I can walk in school, if I can take the kids for a stroll, then I'm getting my exercise, but I'm enjoying it.
And also, I get the sense too that the store is kind of a social outlet for you.
Oh yes.
Because of the number of customers that you see here that you might not interact with them in another setting.
I think I've been so fortunate for being at the store and at the Eagle Foundation, for the number of people that I've met, the very broad variety of people that I've met and gotten to know, and some just for a very short time, but just see different aspects of people. I think that's one of the pleasures of working with the public.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I enjoy talking. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was talking with this one couple. We were talking and talking and talking, and he said, "Are you an owner?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, that makes sense because you can take the time to talk to us." Probably wasn't setting a good example for the crew, but.
No, but at the same time, that's kind of what I think. That's what a lot of people appreciate about you and Dad with the store, is it wasn't necessarily just a transaction, but you would sit and talk to people. Dad obviously would talk. I don't know if he talked with them or at them. There's kind of sometimes it was more of at than with, depending on the conversation. But it could be some very.
Well, I remember one winter, this young man would come in. He'd bring his wife to work at 8 o'clock. He'd come to the sport shop and stay until he picked her up after work, and spent day after day after day. And we had a door connecting through the back, and I'd have to go over there and just take any old sheet of paper and say, "Dave, you need to work on this invoice now, or you need to place this order. I'll watch the store for a little bit."
That happens.
Yep.
Yeah. What got you into swimming?
I don't know. I think someone mentioned it, that it would be kind of fun, and I thought, well, yeah, I like to swim. So, of course, I couldn't do it when I was working full time.
Yeah.
But then when I retired.
So because that was the thing I remember with the pool.
Mm-hmm.
You were never at the pool.
No.
And then now it's like
I
this
never had
constant
time.
that if there's morning swim,
Yeah.
You're
I try
not-
to go 3 times a week, but
pretty there every day. It's open.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good exercise, and there's a really neat bunch of gals that go, and so we just have lots of fun. It's a good social time as well as exercise. And I think more people need to come because they don't realize what they're missing.
I remember I forget if I was when I was on the assembly or when I was mayor, and somebody was talking about the cutting the funding to the pool, and they're like, I was like, do you have any idea who my mom is? Do you think I'm going to be the one to vote? If everybody else votes that way, whatever. I don't have any control of that. But do you really think that I'm going to vote to shut my mom out of the pool and all of her friends that are there? Not only is my mom going to crucify me, but her friends are too. That's not a road I'm willing to go down.
Well, since we lived on the lake, Mother insisted we take swimming lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I did pass my junior life saving, barely, because I've never had the endurance. But Mother didn't want to get in above her ankles.
Really?
Yeah. No,
That was it, huh?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But even with one arm, Dad would come swimming.
Grandpa was?
Yep, Grandpa would swim.
Never knew that.
do a side stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't swim very often because the water was often too cold for his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the pool on that, and that's one of the things that I think is good because you and Lace, you're always invited. I always hear you. Why don't you come swimming with us?
Yeah.
Why don't you come swim? So it's you realize that you need to get more revenue at the pool. So if
Yes.
it's going to be
Yes.
stay open,
Yes.
it's like how do we get more people over there? How do we keep and so you invite a lot of people to hey let's come over to the pool.
Someone was saying the other day, said, "Oh, I should come." He said, "How many are usually there?" And I said, "Well, it depends on who's on vacation, who's getting done with surgery, who's sick." But we've got a wide range of ages, and we just have a blast.
And it's more it's like a water aerobics. Kind
It's
of
water
thing, right? You
aerobics,
just do
yeah,
it next because you're
yeah,
not swimming laps or
No,
anything
no.
like
Oh,
that.
to me,
It's just-
laps are the most boring thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, when the instructor isn't there and it was just a couple, and we're kind of on our own, I'll kind of half swim laps. But I think that's the most boring thing ever. As I say, I will exercise when I've got somebody to do it with me.
Mhm.
Not necessarily because I've got to do 14 laps. Ugh.
What do you think life would have been like if you and Dad didn't come to Haines?
Oh, I just
Have you ever thought about
yes,
that? That
I have.
you know, Haines is the one place that had opportunities for both of you,
Mhm,
and you look at everything that came off of that.
mhm, mhm.
How lucky were you guys
Oh,
that
oh,
Haines is the
oh,
place that
that
had
we ended up.
that?
Yeah,
This is the place you ended up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've thought about that often, and I thought, oh, what if we lived in Montana? You know, I mean, I'm sure we would have been happy, but you know,
and it might have been amazing.
it might have been the best
and it
place
might have
ever.
been there, but
yeah.
I just look back at the way the community accepted you guys.
Mhm,
And the friendships you guys have developed and subsequently Sarah and I have developed over the years. And Haines has its limitations.
Yep.
There's challenges
Yep.
to living
Yep.
here, but the people that are here, the relationships that have been built
mhm.
by you and Dad and our family over the years, I can't imagine.
When Mother and Dad moved up here, Mother had a hard time, and then as I got older, I realized she was leaving her sisters.
Yeah.
She was leaving 2 grandkids. She
Mm-hmm.
was leaving 2 daughters. She
Mhm.
was leaving her coffee buddies of 25 years, her church,
Yeah.
you know. And in fact, they came just a few weeks before her birthday. And so I planned this birthday party for her. Well, I was over at Moose Camp.
Oh,
And so
geez. Gee, you bailed on your mom's birthday party to go to
needed
Moose
help
Camp?
over there. And so Mother hosted her own first birthday
To
party.
people she didn't
Didn't
know.
know.
Oh man.
So, yeah. And the year we moved here, we were the only people to move to Haines that year.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
The whole year?
the whole year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Was
So
that
everybody knew us, and we didn't know anybody.
Well, was that kind of normal for a while during
I
that time?
don't
There
know.
was just not
Yeah.
a lot of people because there wasn't there much turnover at the school, or
Oh no, there wasn't much turnover at the school.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think then when the mill started going better, then there was more people moving
more people in for the
Yeah.
mill?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody did know you, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the if you could say pick out one thing that's the biggest change from 1964 to 2026?
In Haines.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of change,
There's a ton of change.
but
yeah.
just something that might be off the wall, or just something that strikes you that. I mean, because we've already talked a lot about it. You get freight more than once a month right
Yes.
now. You get there's a lot of advantage. You're not ordering out of Montgomery Ward all the time.
What one of the things right now is that I've lived here 61 years. Bryce has lived here 4, and I'm always saying, Bryce, who's that? Oh, that's so and so. They've got 2 kids. They live out at Mud Bay. They drive a red truck. You know. Excuse me.
Bryce does know everybody.
He does know
He
everyone.
does.
It's the older people who say, "Who's that?" I say, "Oh, that's I can
Yeah.
tell their life history." But
Yeah. Yeah, if they've been here 3 decades,
Yeah.
we know them.
we know them. Yeah,
Anybody that's moved here in the last 10 years, we need to get Bryce to tell us who it is.
who it is? Yes, yes.
No, I'm the same way. Yeah. That is crazy how that kind of goes in cycles, doesn't it?
I remember the first concert we went to here, and of course everybody dresses up nice, and there was everything from fur coats to Carhartts and extra toughs.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh, you go to a concert, you dress up.
Yeah.
And in fact, going way back, the old Presbyterian church was so cold and drafty. Well, to me, when you go to church, you dress up. So I had this nice coat, 3/4 length sleeves for wintertime. Oh, so stupid. But anyway, I would sit there freezing, and this one older lady from Port Chilkoot would come in a snowsuit, full snowsuit. And I thought, oh, and then I thought, she's the smart
She's
one.
the smart one. Yeah. So what's coming up next?
Just going day by day, enjoying life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got any how much longer until you can get the grandkids up at the house or the great grandkids to start doing some baking and stuff?
I'm thinking Stella's going on too, so should be pretty soon.
This summer she might be going up to great grandma's and start learning how to measure out some flour and
getting her hands in the dough and
mm-hmm. All right.
Got to start them young.
What stories have I missed, Mom?
I think we've hit them all.
You hit them all?
Yep.
So I've got to make an admission. There have been a lot of people that have wanted to hear your story. A lot of people that love you. I hope we've hit on enough of the stories and
to know me
that they know more about you than they did before. Just I think what a lot of people get is just your generosity and the number of ways that you give back, whether through your effort, through baked goods. You're always sharing with whatever you have, and I think but they're not the people that I did this for. This is for your grandkids and your great grandkids, so they can. I wish I'd had a chance to do this with Dad.
Yeah.
But so they can look back, especially the great grandkids that might not have as much chance to spend as much time with you.
Yep.
That this is my present to them.
Okay.
So, but thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Love you.
I just figure count your blessings every day.
It's a good way to go about it. Yep. See, look at this. Now we need more tissues.
Yep.
Good thing I have a whole box.
As you know, I cry very easily.
Yeah, and you pass that down to me. Yeah. So there's there's 4 things that you can correct me on if I got any of this wrong. There's 4 things that I directly attribute to you. My poor eyesight.
Yep.
My clumsiness, awkwardness, not the most graceful athlete. My love of reading, and the fact that I can cry at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
It can be something it's crazy sometimes. And I was like, I start crying. I was like, dang it, Mom, really?
Yeah.
This is what you had to give me.
I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I mean, there could just be some happy moment on TV and I'll be sobbing.
I remember as kids, something would happen, you'd be crying, and Sarah and I'd look at Dad's like, what's wrong with Mom? He's like, she's happy. We're like, really?
Dad had to read to you each night because as he was reading Charlotte's Web or whatever, I'd be sitting there doing dishes crying.
Really?
Yeah.
I always remember sitting there and having him read Little House on the Prairie and stuff, sitting on the couch. I didn't know it's because you were crying the whole time. Was not aware of that. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I need a hug before we leave.
Oh, yes. Always give hugs.
Yeah.
Love you too.
Thanks for watching this episode of Doug Has Questions. Just a reminder, if you've enjoyed the conversation today, please like, subscribe, and we're available on YouTube if you want to watch us. If you just want to listen, it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you have new episodes being launched every Thursday. So thanks again for watching or listening and following us. We appreciate your support.